Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything is one of the most brutal but liberating truths you will ever face. From the moment you are born, the world doesn't sign a contract to treat you fairly, to give you success, or to reward your effort. Life does not operate on fairness. It operates on cause and effect, action and consequence. The belief that others owe you respect, opportunities, or love is the very thing that chains people to bitterness and disappointment. Entitlement quietly poisons ambition because it convinces you that the world should bend in your favor simply because you exist. The reality is harsh. Nobody is obligated to support your dreams, to listen to your pain, or to hand you chances on a silver platter. People are far more focused on their own survival, their own struggles, and their own goals than they are on yours. This truth feels cold at first, but it is also deeply empowering because the moment you stop expecting handouts, sympathy, or guarantees, you reclaim full control over your destiny. You stop waiting and you start moving. Those who cling to the idea that others owe them become trapped in resentment, endlessly comparing, endlessly blaming, endlessly disappointed. But those who accept this brutal truth learn to create their own doors when none are open. They stop wasting energy on should and instead pour it into must. They grind not because the world owes them, but because they refuse to owe the world their wasted potential. When you fully accept that nobody owes you anything, you unlock the freedom to demand everything from yourself, and that shift changes everything. Most people don't care about your problems. Most people don't care about your problems is a truth that can feel like a punch in the gut the first time it hits you. You grow up believing that if you suffer loudly enough, cry deeply enough, or explain thoroughly enough, the world will stop and pay attention. But the world keeps moving. People are consumed with their own struggles, their own fears, their own endless battles. They may nod, they may sympathize for a fleeting moment, but as soon as you walk away, they return to the chaos of their own lives. This truth doesn't mean people are cruel. It means they're human. Every person carries an invisible weight, a burden no one else can fully see. When you lay your problems bare, they might listen, but deep down, their mind is screaming about bills, heartbreak, deadlines, or secret insecurities. Expecting others to carry your pain with the same intensity you feel it is setting yourself up for constant disappointment. The harsh beauty of this truth is that it forces you to grow stronger. When you realize most people don't care, you stop crying for attention and start searching for solutions. You stop waiting for sympathy and begin cultivating resilience. Your problems are not currency you can spend to earn compassion. They are challenges meant to sharpen you, lessons meant to mold you. Yes, some rare souls will genuinely care, but they are the exception, not the rule. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you stop leaning on fragile shoulders and start building your own unshakable spine. Life is not fair. Life is not fair is a reality that shatters the illusions most people cling to. You can do everything right, work hard, treat people kindly, play by the rules, and still end up overlooked, betrayed, or left behind. Meanwhile, others cut corners, manipulate, or are simply born into circumstances that hand them advantages you'll never touch. The world doesn't operate on fairness. It operates on power, timing, and chance. That's why tragedy strikes the innocent, why corruption thrives, and why effort doesn't always equal reward. The pain of this truth is brutal because it strips away the comforting lie that justice is automatic. Life will break your heart, test your patience, and hand you losses you don't deserve. Some people are born into wealth while others start in poverty. Some inherit beauty and health, while others fight against illness from the beginning. Fairness has never been the foundation of existence. It's a human fantasy projected onto a chaotic world. But hidden inside this unfairness is freedom. Once you stop waiting for life to be fair, you stop wasting energy on resentment and excuses. You realize the only thing you control is how you respond. The fact that life is not fair means you cannot predict the outcome, but it also means you are not trapped by limits. You can rise despite the odds, succeed despite the disadvantages, and carve out a path even when everything is stacked against you. Fairness doesn't decide your future. Your resilience, your strategy, and your refusal to surrender do. Accept this truth, and you stop begging life to treat you kindly and start demanding more from yourself. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Comfort is the enemy of growth because it seduces you into stagnation. Comfort whispers that you're safe, that you've done enough, that you deserve to stay where you are. It feels warm, secure, and deceptively satisfying, but beneath that softness lies decay. Muscles weaken without resistance, skills fade without practice, and minds dull without challenge. Comfort convinces you to choose ease over effort, but every time you choose ease, you trade long-term potential for short-term relief. The truth is that growth demands pain. It demands you step into the unknown, face failure, endure rejection, and push through moments where everything in you screams to quit. Growth is forged in discomfort, lifting the extra weight, making the hard conversation, chasing the scary opportunity, risking embarrassment and loss. That edge where fear meets effort is where transformation happens. Most people never reach their true potential because they cling to the familiar. They live in routines, repeat the same safe choices, and mistake stability for happiness. But what they're really doing is slowly suffocating their own greatness. Growth comes from struggle, and the uncomfortable truth is that if you're not suffering a little, you're not evolving. Comfort feels like protection, but it's a trap. The cocoon that shields you also keeps you from flying. To break free, you must embrace the fire, willingly step into situations that stretch you, and let discomfort carve you into something stronger. The life you want is waiting beyond the walls of comfort, and the price to reach it is paid in sweat, fear, and pain. Excuses don't change outcomes. Excuses don't change outcomes because reality doesn't bend to your justifications. You can have the most convincing reasons in the world for why you failed, why you didn't try, or why you gave up, but the outcome remains exactly the same. Life doesn't hand out rewards for good explanations. It hands them out for results. You can tell yourself that you were too tired, too busy, too unlucky, or that circumstances weren't fair, but those excuses won't put food on the table, won't build your legacy, and won't erase the emptiness of wasted potential. Excuses are seductive because they protect your ego. They soften the sting of failure, giving you a story to tell yourself about why things didn't work out. But every excuse is a brick in the wall that traps you in mediocrity. The more you lean on them, the weaker you become, because excuses shift responsibility away from you and onto the world. And when you're not responsible, you're not in control. Winners and losers feel the same pain, face the same obstacles, and encounter the same temptations to quit. The difference is that winners accept no excuse as valid. They understand that outcomes are all that matter. History doesn't remember who almost made it, who nearly tried, or who had a perfectly reasonable explanation for failure. It remembers who endured, who pushed past obstacles, who refused to let circumstances dictate their destiny. The moment you stop defending your limitations with excuses, you free yourself to fight for results. And in the end, only results speak. Your feelings don't dictate reality. Your feelings don't dictate reality is a truth that slices through the illusions many people live by. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's true. You can feel worthless and still be capable of greatness. You can feel unloved and still be surrounded by people who care. You can feel hopeless while opportunity quietly waits around the corner. Emotions are powerful, but they are not fact. They are fleeting states, shaped by hormones, memories, and perception. When you mistake them for reality, you let temporary storms decide the direction of your life. Feelings lie. They exaggerate fear when risk is low. They amplify despair when you're tired, and they whisper doubts when you're standing on the edge of growth. They convince you to give up too early, to retreat when you should advance, and to sabotage opportunities out of imagined danger. The brutal truth is that your feelings don't care about your future. They care about your comfort. And comfort, as you already know, is the enemy of growth. The world doesn't bend to your emotions. It moves on whether you feel ready or not. Reality doesn't pause because you're afraid, insecure, or angry. The deal closes, the opportunity passes, the relationship crumbles if you fail to act. Those who succeed are not the ones who feel fearless. They are the ones who act in spite of fear. Mastering this truth means learning to observe your feelings without bowing to them. It means anchoring yourself to actions, not emotions, because reality is built by what you do, not what you feel. Hard work doesn't guarantee success. Hard work doesn't guarantee success is a truth that crushes the myth you've been fed since childhood. That effort alone is enough to secure the life you dream of. You can pour years into grinding, sacrifice sleep, sweat, and comfort, and still watch someone else surpass you. Why? Because success is not a simple equation of work in, results out. It is shaped by timing, strategy, opportunity, connections, and sometimes pure luck. Hard work is the foundation, but without direction, leverage, and smart decisions, it often leads to exhaustion instead of achievement. This truth can feel cruel because we want to believe effort is always rewarded, but reality shows otherwise. There are laborers who work harder than CEOs and athletes who train endlessly yet never break into the spotlight. Hard work is necessary, but it is not sufficient. The world doesn't pay you for sweat. It pays you for value, for results, for the impact your work creates. The emotional sting of this truth is that you could give everything and still fall short. But hidden in that sting is power. Once you accept that effort alone isn't enough, you stop blindly grinding and start thinking strategically. You learn to combine hard work with leverage, networking, adaptability, and calculated risks. You stop worshiping effort for effort's sake and instead focus on outcomes. Hard work won't guarantee success, but without it, success is impossible. The difference lies in how you direct that work, whether you're merely busy or truly building something that moves the world. Success requires sacrifice. Success requires sacrifice because nothing great is ever built without something being lost along the way. Every achievement comes at a cost, whether it's time, comfort, relationships, or the illusion of balance. You cannot expect to climb higher without giving up the ground beneath you. The harsh truth is that while others are sleeping, you'll be working. While they're indulging, you'll be disciplining. While they're chasing pleasure, you'll be chasing purpose. Sacrifice is the toll the universe demands before it allows you entry into the realm of success. Most people dream of success, but refuse to pay the price. They want the body without the grueling hours in the gym, the wealth without the endless grind, the recognition without the countless failures. But success is ruthless. It only opens its doors to those willing to burn distractions, abandon comfort, and prioritize their vision above everything else. You will miss parties, you will lose friends, you will sometimes feel isolated while the world passes you by. That is the reality of chasing something greater than yourself. The sacrifices cut deep, but they also reveal who you are. They test your resolve, strip away weakness, and force you to decide if you truly want what you claim to want. Every hour spent in sacrifice is an investment, and every investment compounds into a future few will ever taste. Success is not handed to anyone. It is earned through relentless exchange, and the question is never whether sacrifice is required. It is whether you are willing to bleed for the life you say you desire. Time is your most valuable asset. Time is your most valuable asset because it is the only resource that can never be replenished. You can lose money and earn it back. You can ruin your health and slowly rebuild it. You can even rebuild relationships after years of neglect. But once a moment is gone, it's gone forever. Every tick of the clock is a piece of your life dissolving into the past, and no amount of wealth, status, or power can buy it back. The richest man in the world has the same 24 hours as the poorest, yet most people squander it as if they have an endless supply. The brutal truth is that time is slipping away faster than you realize. The years blur into decades, opportunities vanish, and people you love eventually disappear. Wasting your hours on distractions, toxic relationships, and meaningless pursuits isn't just careless, it's self-destruction. When you waste time, you're not just losing minutes, you're sacrificing dreams, health, love, and potential you'll never see again. Those who treat time with reverence rise above. They understand that every second counts, that discipline today builds freedom tomorrow, and that focus is the highest form of respect you can give yourself. People chase money with desperation, but the truly powerful chase time because they know it is the ultimate currency. Every choice you make is a trade with time. You either invest it in something that compounds into growth, or you burn it in ways that leave you with regret. The cruel beauty of this truth is that it forces you to confront your mortality. You are running out of time, and how you spend it will decide who you become. You are replaceable in most areas of life. You are replaceable in most areas of life is a cold, clarifying truth that strips away ego's comforting fantasies. Jobs, roles, friendships, romantic partners, most of them will continue with or without you, often functioning just fine after you're gone. That thought stings because it attacks identity, the quiet narrative that your presence is irreplaceable, that the world would crumble if you stepped away. The reality is harsher and, paradoxically, liberating. When you accept your replaceability, you stop demanding special treatment and start delivering undeniable value. This isn't about diminishing your worth. It's about shattering entitlement and forcing accountability. Replaceability reveals where you've been coasting, relying on relationships, positions, or reputations rather than competence, contribution, and character. It exposes fragile egos that think loyalty is guaranteed and highlights the painful truth that the world rewards what is useful, skilled, and consistent. People who thrive don't hide behind the myth of indispensability. They tattoo adaptability into their work, cultivate rare skills, and build soft power, trust, reliability, and calm competence. Knowing you can be replaced wakes you up at 3 a.m. to the reality that prestige is temporary and comfort isn't protection. It makes you sharpen your edge, rehearse humility, and steward the relationships that matter with intention. It also frees you from fear. If you are replaceable, you can take calculated risks, pivot, and reinvent without believing your entire identity will evaporate. Replaceability is a truth that strips you bare, then hands you a choice: become truly valuable or accept being forgotten. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to save you is a truth that hits like a cold blade across the soul. It's the moment you realize that no mentor, no government, no friend, no partner will swoop in to rescue you from the weight of your circumstances. The safety net you secretly hope for, the miracle that will solve your problems, is an illusion. People may care, they may offer advice, they may lend a hand for a moment, but ultimately, the responsibility to climb out of the pit rests entirely on your shoulders. This truth is brutal because it kills the fantasy of being saved. We are wired to crave rescue, to dream that someone stronger, wiser, or richer will step in and deliver us from our pain. But that day never comes. Even if someone helps, it will never be enough because no one else can live your life, fight your battles, or endure your demons for you. The sting of this realization is what forges warriors. When you finally understand that no one is coming, you stop waiting, you stop begging, you stop handing away your power, and instead grip it tightly with bloody hands. You begin to take responsibility, to build your own escape, to craft your own future. This truth is terrifying at first, but it is also your liberation, because once you accept it, you become unstoppable. You stop expecting saviors and start becoming your own. And in that moment, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the architect of your destiny. Fear never goes away. You just get stronger. Fear never goes away. You just get stronger. And that's a truth most people try to avoid. Fear isn't something you outgrow or something that disappears once you hit a certain level of success. It will always be there, lurking in the shadows of every risk, every leap, every step into the unknown. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of humiliation. These feelings never vanish because they are hardwired into you. They are the instincts that once kept your ancestors alive, and they still whisper in your ear today, telling you to stay small, to stay safe, to stay still. The mistake most people make is waiting for fear to disappear before they act. They wait for confidence, for certainty, for the perfect moment. But that moment never comes. The people who move mountains, the ones who create lives worth remembering, don't wait for fear to die. They walk with it, side by side, and act anyway. Every time you face fear, you grow stronger. Every time you push through trembling hands, sweaty palms, or a racing heart, you send a message to yourself, I am stronger than this. And with each repetition, your courage compounds. Fear doesn't shrink, you expand. You become larger than the obstacle, heavier than the doubt, sharper than the hesitation. Fear is not the enemy. It's the signal that you're stepping into territory where growth lives. The strongest people are not fearless. They are simply the ones who refuse to let fear dictate their story. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline matters more. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline matters more because motivation is fleeting, fragile, and entirely dependent on how you feel in the moment. One day, you wake up inspired, ready to conquer the world, and the next day, you can barely drag yourself out of bed. Motivation is like a spark, bright, exciting, but short-lived. If you build your future on it, you'll quit the moment it fades, and it always fades. The gym feels easy when you're motivated. Work feels exciting when passion is high. But the second boredom, exhaustion, or doubt creeps in, motivation disappears, leaving you stranded. Discipline, however, is the steel frame that holds everything together when your feelings betray you. Discipline doesn't care if you're tired, unmotivated, or scared. It simply executes. It's showing up when you don't feel like it, pushing forward when your mind screams to quit, and honoring your commitments regardless of mood. Discipline is brutal because it demands consistency over comfort, but it is also freeing because it guarantees progress. The truth is, the most successful people in any field are not the most motivated. They are the most disciplined. They understand that the grind must continue whether or not inspiration shows up. They write when they don't feel creative, train when their body aches, work when the excitement has long burned out. That's why they win. If you depend on motivation, your life will be a roller coaster of starts and stops. If you master discipline, you build momentum that carries you through storms. In the end, motivation might start the fire, but discipline keeps it burning long enough to change your life. Nobody remembers failures, they remember results. Nobody remembers failures, they remember results is a truth that liberates you from the weight of your own mistakes. Failure feels permanent in the moment. It burns, humiliates, and carves deep scars into your pride. But the brutal reality is that the world rarely holds on to your failures as tightly as you do. People are too busy chasing their own lives to catalog your missteps. What they remember are the results you eventually produce, the victories that stand as proof of your persistence, not the countless stumbles it took to get there. History is written in outcomes, not attempts. Nobody cares how many times Edison's experiments blew up. They care that he created the light bulb. Nobody obsesses over how many times athletes lose. They celebrate the championships they finally win. Failure is noise. Success is the signal. When you obsess over looking foolish over being judged for trying and failing, you forget that most failures vanish into silence once you keep moving forward. The sting of failure lingers only when you stop. Quitting is the only way your failures get etched into memory, because then they become your final chapter. But if you keep going, if you transform every collapse into fuel, those failures become invisible stepping stones that nobody else even bothers to count. The brutal truth is that the world doesn't track your stumbles. They only care whether or not you made it. And once you do, the failures that haunted you will be erased, leaving only the undeniable weight of your results. Your health will define your future. Your health will define your future is a truth people ignore until it's too late. You can chase wealth, status, and success, but without health, it all collapses. The body you neglect in your youth becomes the prison you live in later. Every skipped workout, every late night, every indulgence in poison disguised as comfort compounds silently until one day it robs you of the freedom you thought you had. The cruel reality is that money can buy treatment, but it cannot buy back vitality, energy, or lost years. This truth is terrifying because decline is invisible until it's undeniable. You don't notice the damage until climbing stairs leaves you breathless, until your reflection carries fatigue, until your doctor delivers news that changes your entire life. Health is the foundation on which everything else is built. Without it, ambition fades, dreams stall, and even love and relationships suffer under the weight of illness. Most people trade health for success, believing they can fix it later, but later rarely comes. The body keeps score and it punishes neglect ruthlessly. The people who thrive long-term understand that energy, focus, and strength are assets as real as money, and they invest in them daily. The emotional sting of this truth is realizing that discipline today determines freedom tomorrow. Every choice you make, what you eat, how you move, how you rest, is a vote for the future version of yourself. You can choose to age with power or with regret, but you cannot escape the consequences. Your health will write the story of your future, whether you respect it or not. Entitlement kills progress. Entitlement kills progress because it tricks you into believing the world owes you rewards simply for existing. It whispers that your effort deserves recognition, that your struggles should guarantee success, and that people must bend to your expectations. But life does not operate on entitlement. It operates on value. The harsh truth is that nobody cares about what you think you deserve. They care about what you deliver. Entitlement locks people into stagnation because instead of improving, they sit back and wait, sulking when the world doesn't hand them what they feel is theirs. Progress requires humility, the raw acknowledgement that you are not yet where you want to be, that you must earn every inch, and that nothing is promised. The entitled mind cannot grow because it resists feedback, avoids discomfort, and hides behind complaints. Every moment spent expecting instead of creating is a moment lost to someone hungrier, someone willing to bleed for what you hesitate to chase. Entitlement also poisons relationships. People recoil from those who demand instead of contribute, who expect loyalty without earning trust, who want respect without showing it. It isolates you, turning allies into enemies and opportunities into dead ends. The world doesn't punish entitlement out of malice. It simply ignores it, leaving the entitled behind while progress rewards the relentless. The brutal reality is this: the second you believe you deserve something, you stop working for it. The second you stop working for it, you fall behind. Entitlement is the silent killer of potential, and the cure is responsibility. Life rewards action, not intention. Life rewards action, not intention, because the world doesn't pay you for what you meant to do. It pays you for what you actually did. You can have the most brilliant ideas, the most noble goals, and the most inspiring visions, but if they never leave your head, they rot there. Nobody is handing out medals for good intentions. The harsh truth is that the universe doesn't move for thoughts. It moves for action. Intentions are safe. They let you dream without risk, talk without consequence, and plan without failure. That's why so many people cling to them. They imagine the book they'll write, the business they'll build, the change they'll make, and in that fantasy, they feel accomplished. But the feeling is counterfeit, because in reality, nothing has changed. The body is still unfit, the bank account still empty, the dream still unrealized. Action, on the other hand, is dangerous. It exposes you. It opens the door to rejection, failure, and humiliation. But it also opens the only door that matters, the door to progress. Every step forward, no matter how small, shifts your reality in a way intentions never can. The person who acts and fails is infinitely ahead of the person who only plans to succeed. Life is brutal in this way. It only respects execution. Dreams without action rot into regret. But even messy, imperfect action compounds into results. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is not closed by wishing. It is closed by movement. Failure is inevitable if you aim high. Failure is inevitable if you aim high because the path to greatness is littered with broken attempts, shattered expectations, and painful lessons. The higher you aim, the steeper the climb, and the more brutal the falls along the way. People who play small may avoid failure, but they also avoid growth, achievement, and impact. To chase something beyond the ordinary means walking headfirst into rejection, criticism, and setbacks that will crush you if you're not prepared to rise again. Every meaningful pursuit demands failure as its admission ticket. The author who dreams of writing a bestseller will face rejection letters and harsh reviews. The entrepreneur building an empire will watch ideas collapse and investments vanish. The athlete chasing world records will taste defeat far more often than victory. Each failure cuts, but each also carves strength, wisdom, and resilience into your character. Without failure, success would hold no weight because it would require no sacrifice. What most people fear about failure is not the event itself, but the exposure, being seen as inadequate, being laughed at, being reminded they're not invincible. But the truth is that those who never fail are the ones who never tried hard enough to matter. Failure is not proof that you're weak. It's evidence that you're reaching further than comfort allows. The brutal truth is simple. If you set your sights low, you can avoid failure, but guarantee mediocrity. If you aim high, you will fail often, but each failure becomes proof that you dare to chase a life that actually matters. You are not special by default. You are not special by default is the truth that strips away the comforting lies whispered since childhood. You were told you were unique, destined for greatness, chosen. But step into the real world and you realize millions of people work harder than you, look better than you, and dream the same dreams you do. Being alive does not entitle you to admiration, respect, or success. The universe doesn't hand crowns simply for existing. It rewards those who earn them. This truth feels like betrayal because deep down, everyone craves to be extraordinary without paying the price. But the world doesn't bend for wishful thinking. You are just another human until you decide otherwise. Talent is common, intelligence is common, ambition is common. What separates you is relentless action, resilience when others quit, and the refusal to stay average. Most people never escape the trap of believing they're special without proof. They coast, waiting for recognition that never comes, and when life overlooks them, they grow bitter. The harsh beauty of this truth is that once you accept you are not inherently special, you realize the only path to becoming exceptional is through consistent, brutal effort. You earn special. You bleed for it, sweat for it, and sacrifice for it. You create it in the choices you make daily, in the habits you forge, in the limits you break. You are not special just for being here, but you can become unforgettable if you're willing to embrace the pain that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Talent without effort is wasted. Talent without effort is wasted because raw ability means nothing if it's not sharpened, tested, and pushed to its limits. The world is full of people with natural gifts, those who are smarter, faster, stronger, or more creative than the rest. But most of them fade into mediocrity because they rely on talent alone. Talent can open the door, but only effort keeps it from slamming shut. Without relentless work, even the brightest flame burns out unnoticed. The brutal truth is that effort beats talent when talent refuses to work. The athlete who skips practice, the artist who never hones their craft, the genius who avoids discipline, they all end up watching someone less gifted surpass them simply because that person showed up every single day. Effort is the multiplier of talent, the force that transforms potential into mastery. But wasted talent is more than a loss of opportunity. It's a betrayal of possibility. To be given a gift and to let it rot through laziness is to deny yourself the life you could have lived. It is to watch others live your dream because you were too comfortable to chase it. And deep down, wasted talent haunts more than failure ever could, because failure means you tried, but waste means you quit before you began. Talent is a seed, not a tree. Without effort, it stays buried in the dirt, unseen and forgotten. With effort, it grows into something unshakable, undeniable, and unstoppable. The choice is yours. Waste it or work it. Wealth doesn't equal happiness. Wealth doesn't equal happiness because money can solve problems, but it cannot fill the emptiness inside you. It can buy comfort, freedom, and even admiration, but it cannot buy peace of mind, love, or a sense of purpose. People fantasize that wealth will erase all pain, yet countless millionaires live in quiet misery, depressed, addicted, or alone, proof that having everything doesn't mean you feel complete. The brutal truth is that money magnifies who you already are. If you are broken, insecure, or bitter, wealth will only amplify those cracks. It gives you more means to distract yourself, more ways to escape facing your emptiness, but it never heals the wound. Happiness is not sold in any store, and no amount in your bank account can purchase genuine fulfillment. This doesn't mean money is worthless. It matters. Poverty is misery, and financial struggle suffocates dreams. But the pursuit of wealth as the ultimate goal is a trap, because once you reach the number you thought would make you happy, the void remains. That's why so many people who make it end up feeling lost, because they sacrificed everything for a prize that didn't deliver the joy they imagined. True happiness comes from meaning, relationships, growth, and alignment with your values. Wealth can enhance these things, but it cannot create them. When you believe money alone is the answer, you chase shadows and wake up in a golden cage, rich in possessions but bankrupt in spirit. Wealth can buy a lifestyle, but never a life worth living. You will die someday. You will die someday is a truth that slices through all the petty noise and reveals what actually matters. Mortality is the single unbiased fact that levels kings and beggars, celebrities and strangers. It is the quiet clock ticking in every chest, the shadow that follows every ambition. Most people live as if they are immortal, postponing love, postponing courage, postponing apology, convincing themselves there will always be later. But later is a precarious rumor, and the suddenness of finality will strip away all the mass, excuses, and postponed dreams in a heartbeat. This truth is terrifying because it forces you to confront wasted time, relationships left frayed, and dreams buried under convenience. It is also liberating in a way that no pep talk can match. When you truly understand that your days are numbered, pretense falls away and urgency becomes an honest friend. You begin to notice how many of your choices are designed to impress people who will be strangers at your funeral, how many grievances you hoard that will mean nothing when the lights go out. Mortality reframes every small cowardice as a theft from a life you will not get back. Accepting death makes your priorities surgical. It makes you speak when silence costs you truth, love when fear would have you hide, and risk when safety would have you shrink. It forces you to live with more clarity, more ferocity, and more ruthless care for what will actually matter when your name is whispered for the last time. Most people live mediocre lives by choice. Most people live mediocre lives by choice is a truth that cuts deeper the more you look around. Mediocrity isn't forced on people. It's chosen, day after day, in the quiet decisions to stay comfortable instead of courageous. It's in the jobs they hate but never leave, the dreams they bury under excuses, the hours wasted on distraction while their potential rots away. They tell themselves stories of bad luck, unfair systems, or lost chances. But the truth is that mediocrity feels safer than risk, easier than effort, and less painful than failure. This truth is brutal because it exposes how willingly people trade greatness for comfort. They convince themselves they don't have the time, the resources, or the talent, when in reality, they don't have the will. Every extraordinary life is built on sacrifice, waking earlier, pushing harder, saying no to comfort, saying yes to fear. But mediocrity asks for nothing and takes everything. It lulls people into believing tomorrow will be different, while years slip by unchanged. The sting of this truth lies in its mirror. If most people live mediocre lives by choice, then you are either one of them or you fight daily not to be. Mediocrity is crowded, noisy, and full of excuses. Greatness is lonely, brutal, and merciless. But the difference is a choice, your choice. You cannot control where you start, but you decide whether you settle. Most people won't dare to step out, won't dare to sacrifice, won't dare to demand more, and that's why most people stay mediocre forever. Friends change, loyalty is rare. Friends change, loyalty is rare because human beings are not fixed. They evolve, drift, and often outgrow the bonds that once held them together. The people who feel like family today may become strangers tomorrow, not always out of malice, but simply because their priorities, desires, and paths shift. Childhood friends vanish into adulthood responsibilities. College allies scatter into careers, and even the closest companions can fade when life pulls in different directions. This truth hurts because we want permanence, but permanence in people is an illusion. Loyalty, the kind that survives storms, distance, and temptation, is one of the rarest qualities you'll ever encounter. Most friendships are circumstantial, built on shared environments, mutual convenience, or temporary alignment of goals. Once those conditions change, many friendships dissolve, revealing that what you thought was loyalty was often just proximity. Only a handful of people in your lifetime will stand unshaken when the easy part of friendship ends. Those are the ones who show up not just in celebration, but in crisis, not just when you shine, but when you stumble. The painful part is realizing how few truly loyal people you'll meet. Betrayal, abandonment, and fading connections will teach you that loyalty isn't promised. It's earned, tested, and proven over time. The mistake is expecting everyone to stay. The wisdom is learning to cherish the rare souls who do. Friends will change, and many will leave, but the ones who remain despite everything are priceless, and they are the ones worth protecting with everything you have. Jealousy is wasted energy. Jealousy is wasted energy because it gives power to others while draining your own. Every moment you spend staring at someone else's success, beauty, or opportunities is a moment stolen from your own growth. Jealousy tricks you into believing that someone else's light dims your own, when in truth, their success has nothing to do with your potential. But instead of fueling you, jealousy paralyzes you. It eats at your confidence, poisons your mindset, and blinds you to the opportunities already within your reach. The harsh reality is that life will always produce someone richer, smarter, stronger, or more attractive than you. If your worth is measured against others, you will never feel enough. Jealousy locks you in a constant state of comparison, a game you cannot win. It keeps you small because instead of creating, you're criticizing. Instead of building, you're resenting. Instead of learning from others, you're burning with envy that teaches you nothing. But here's the brutal beauty. The energy behind jealousy can be transformed. The same fire that eats away at you can be redirected into ambition, into discipline, into action. When you shift from asking, why them, to why not me, jealousy becomes fuel. You stop wishing for their downfall and start building your own rise. Every ounce of energy you invest in jealousy is an ounce stolen from your future. Every time you celebrate someone else's win, you practice abundance instead of scarcity, and abundance breeds momentum. Jealousy achieves nothing except to suffocate you, while action creates everything you're jealous of. Complaining fixes nothing. Complaining fixes nothing because it is the illusion of action without the substance of change. When you complain, you momentarily release the pressure of frustration, but nothing in your reality shifts. The broken system remains broken. The unfair boss remains unfair. The difficult circumstance remains exactly as it was. Complaining tricks the brain into feeling productive. It's the counterfeit currency of effort, offering the comfort of venting without the price of responsibility. The harsh truth is that nobody respects chronic complainers. People listen politely, but behind their nods is exhaustion, because words without solutions drain energy instead of creating it. Complaining broadcasts helplessness, a signal that you would rather stew in misery than confront discomfort head-on. The world does not reward those who wallow in problems. It rewards those who tackle them, reframe them, or outgrow them. Every minute spent complaining is a minute stolen from building, adapting, or escaping the very thing you despise. The energy you pour into complaints could have been fuel for change, but instead it feeds resentment, bitterness, and stagnation. Worse, it keeps you trapped in the role of a victim, reinforcing the story that life is something happening to you rather than something you can shape. This truth cuts deep because complaining feels good in the moment. It attracts sympathy, it validates your emotions, but sympathy doesn't solve problems, and validation doesn't rewrite your future. What does is action. The moment you stop giving your voice to complaints, you create silence for solutions to emerge. Complaining fixes nothing, but courage, discipline, and relentless action fix everything. The world doesn't pause for your grief. The world doesn't pause for your grief is one of the coldest truths you'll ever confront. When tragedy strikes, when you lose someone you love, when betrayal guts you, when life leaves you bleeding, you feel like time should stop. But it doesn't. The sun rises the next morning, bills still arrive, deadlines still loom, strangers still laugh, still rush to work, still post pictures of their lives as if nothing happened. Your pain feels infinite, yet the world spins forward untouched. This truth is brutal because grief demands recognition, but life offers none. People may sympathize for a while, send messages, offer comfort, but soon they return to their own storms, leaving you alone with yours. The machine of life never slows, and your suffering is just one thread in a vast, indifferent fabric. The sting of this truth is that grief doesn't grant you immunity from responsibility. Your job won't wait forever. Your health won't pause. Your opportunities won't freeze in place until you're ready. If you let grief consume you completely, life will quietly strip away everything else you still have. Yet within this cruelty is a savage kind of freedom. If the world will not pause, then neither should you. Moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. It means refusing to let loss steal what remains. The world won't stop for your grief, so you must decide whether to be crushed under it or to rise carrying it. Pain may slow you, but only you can choose whether it paralyzes or propels you. Respect must be earned, not demanded. Respect must be earned, not demanded, because true respect is never handed out like charity. It is built through action, character, and consistency. You can force people to obey you through fear, position, or authority, but that is not respect. That is compliance. Real respect comes when others willingly look at you and see strength, integrity, and reliability they cannot ignore. The brutal truth is that nobody owes you admiration simply because of your age, your title, or your self-image. If you want respect, you must prove yourself worthy of it. Many people make the mistake of demanding respect before they have shown discipline, wisdom, or results. They feel entitled to it, shouting louder, inflating their ego, or threatening those who don't comply. But this only creates resentment because respect can never be forced. It can only be inspired. People don't respect what you say you are. They respect what you repeatedly demonstrate when it's difficult, when nobody is watching, when you have every reason to take the easy way out but don't. Respect is earned in the way you treat others, in the way you carry yourself through adversity, and in the way you deliver on promises. It is slow to build and quick to vanish, and once lost, it may never return. That is why respect is so valuable. It cannot be bought, borrowed, or demanded. It can only be earned, and those who understand this truth don't chase respect with words. They attract it through the weight of their actions. Your reputation can be destroyed overnight. Your reputation can be destroyed overnight because trust takes years to build, but only seconds to shatter. You may spend a lifetime crafting an image of reliability, loyalty, and strength, but a single careless action, a single moment of weakness, or a single mistake can undo it all. People rarely remember the countless times you did right. They remember the one time you did wrong. And in a world where attention is short and gossip spreads faster than truth, perception can kill you before facts even surface. The brutal reality is that reputation is fragile. It doesn't matter how pure your intentions were or how unfair the circumstances may be. What people see, what they hear, and what they believe becomes their truth about you. One reckless choice, one angry outburst, one broken promise can burn bridges that will never be rebuilt. And once doubt infects your name, it multiplies quickly, leaving scars that time alone cannot heal. This truth should not paralyze you, but it should wake you up. Every action matters. Every word you speak, every decision you make is a vote cast for the kind of reputation you are building. The world is watching, whether you realize it or not. The terrifying power of reputation is that it lingers long after the moment has passed. People will forgive, but rarely forget, and whispers have the power to outlive your defenses. Guard your name as if it were your life, because, in many ways, it is. Once broken, it may never be restored. People will judge you no matter what. People will judge you no matter what, because judgment is hardwired into human nature. From the moment you walk into a room, people dissect your appearance, your tone, your choices, and even the things you don't say. You can be kind and someone will call you weak. You can be strong and someone will call you arrogant. You can succeed and be labeled lucky, or fail and be labeled foolish. Judgment is relentless, and the brutal truth is that you will never escape it. Most people waste their lives twisting themselves into shapes to please others, terrified of being disliked or misunderstood. They censor their words, dilute their dreams, and contort their personalities to fit in, all while believing that if they play it safe enough, judgment will disappear. But it never does. Silence gets judged, action gets judged, even neutrality is judged. Trying to outrun judgment is like trying to outrun your own shadow. It follows everywhere. The liberating side of this truth is that once you realize judgment is unavoidable, you stop living for approval. You stop sacrificing authenticity for acceptance. You stop apologizing for existing. When you accept that no matter what you do, someone will criticize, dislike, or misinterpret you, you unlock the courage to live on your own terms. Yes, they will judge you. They will whisper, project, and condemn. But their words cannot shape your destiny unless you hand them the power. The world will always talk. The question is whether you will let their voices cage you or whether you will build a life so unapologetically your own, that their judgment becomes nothing but background noise. Some doors close forever. Some doors close forever is a truth that most people refuse to accept until it's too late. We like to believe we'll always have another chance, another opportunity, another tomorrow. But life doesn't work like that. Some chances only come once, some relationships can't be repaired, and some moments are gone the instant you hesitate. Time doesn't rewind, and opportunities don't linger, waiting for you to be ready. When a door closes, sometimes it's sealed shut for good. This truth is devastating because it forces you to confront your own hesitation. That dream you keep delaying, that risk you keep avoiding, that love you keep neglecting, all of it is finite. There will come a day when the option disappears, when the person moves on, when the chance vanishes into the past. The pain of realizing you waited too long, that you let fear or laziness steal your shot, is a regret that burns for a lifetime. Yet the power of this truth is that it makes every moment heavier, sharper, more alive. When you understand that some doors close forever, you stop wasting time on endless some days and start acting today. You stop taking people for granted. You stop assuming the world owes you a second chance. Not every path will remain open. Some doors slam shut and never open again, no matter how hard you knock. The brutal beauty is that knowing this forces you to walk through the ones in front of you before they disappear, because once they're gone forever. Opportunity is fleeting. Opportunity is fleeting because it doesn't wait for you to feel ready, confident, or comfortable. It appears suddenly and disappears just as quickly. The harsh truth is that life doesn't pause while you hesitate. That job, that connection, that chance to take a risk, it won't linger forever. Opportunities are like doors swinging open in a storm. If you don't step through, they slam shut, often never to reopen. And when they do close, regret creeps in louder than fear ever did. Most people miss opportunities not because they lack potential, but because they hesitate. They overthink. They wait for a sign. They convince themselves there will be another chance. But time is ruthless, and while you're waiting, someone else is moving. Opportunity doesn't care about your excuses. It rewards the bold, the ones willing to leap before certainty exists. The truth is even scarier. Opportunities rarely come announced. They disguise themselves as hard work, as uncomfortable decisions, as moments that feel too big for you. That's why most people let them slip by. They don't recognize the weight of the moment until it's gone. And once gone, it doesn't return. The people who rise in life are not always the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who recognize the fleeting nature of opportunity and act decisively when it appears. They know hesitation is the silent killer of progress, and they refuse to let fear chain them to inaction. Opportunity is fleeting, and if you wait too long, it becomes nothing more than a memory of what could have been. People value you for what you can provide. People value you for what you can provide because at the core, relationships, whether personal, professional, or social, are built on exchange. This truth feels cold, but it explains why admiration, attention, and respect often vanish the moment you stop giving. People don't love you for your potential, your dreams, or your intentions. They love you for the value you bring into their world, whether that's money, knowledge, support, entertainment, or love. The brutal reality is that the world is transactional, even when it disguises itself as emotional. Friends drift when you no longer bring them joy or support. Employers replace you the second your output slows. Partners leave when the energy, affection, or security you once provided disappears. You are measured not by who you are, but by what you contribute. And while this truth can feel dehumanizing, it is also clarifying. It teaches you to stop expecting unconditional appreciation in a world built on conditions. But hidden in this harshness is opportunity. If people value you for what you can provide, then you can shape your worth by sharpening your skills, by becoming irreplaceable, by offering something rare that others can't ignore. The more value you bring, the more leverage you hold, and the less easily you can be discarded. This truth also forces you to see through illusions. Those who claim to love you unconditionally often reveal themselves when you have nothing left to give. And while that can break you, it also frees you. Because once you understand this, you stop living to be liked and start living to create undeniable value. Looks and first impressions matter. Looks and first impressions matter because human beings are wired to judge instantly. Before you even speak a word, people have already formed an opinion of your intelligence, your trustworthiness, and even your value. It may feel unfair, but it is deeply rooted in survival instincts. Our ancestors had to decide in seconds whether someone was a threat or an ally. That ancient programming still rules today, and it means your appearance, body language, and energy often speak louder than your words. The brutal truth is that competence can be ignored if it is wrapped in carelessness. A brilliant mind hidden behind sloppy presentation will be dismissed before it has the chance to prove itself. People say, "Don't judge a book by its cover," yet every day they do exactly that, choosing partners, leaders, and opportunities based on how things look and feel in the first fleeting moments. First impressions set the tone, and once formed, they are difficult to erase. This doesn't mean beauty equals worth. It means effort equals respect. Grooming, posture, eye contact, and confidence are signals that you respect yourself, and people instinctively mirror that respect back to you. A strong first impression can open doors that pure talent alone might never reach, while a weak one can slam them shut before you even realize they existed. You can fight this truth and cling to the idea that what's inside is all that matters, or you can accept reality and use it as leverage. Looks and first impressions won't carry you forever, but they decide whether you get the chance to show the world everything else you have to offer. Most advice is useless unless applied. Most advice is useless unless applied is a truth that slices through the illusion that knowledge alone changes lives. You can read every book, listen to every podcast, collect wisdom from mentors and gurus, and still remain stuck in the exact same place. Why? Because advice is nothing more than words until you drag it into reality with action. People chase inspiration like a drug, consuming endless lessons and insights, mistaking the feeling of learning for actual growth. But the gap between knowing and doing is where most dreams die. This truth is painful because it reveals why so many stay trapped in cycles of failure despite being surrounded by knowledge. Advice doesn't transform you. Execution does. Hearing how to build discipline doesn't give you discipline. Reading about success doesn't hand you success. Only action has the power to turn insight into transformation, and action is what most avoid because it demands discomfort, risk, and the possibility of failure. The sting lies in recognizing that wisdom wasted is worse than ignorance. When you know what to do but refuse to do it, you carry the weight of your own betrayal. You can't claim you didn't know better. You simply didn't act. The brutal beauty of this truth is that it forces you to stop chasing endless guidance and start moving. Even imperfect action beats perfect advice left unused. Most advice is useless unless applied, because it's not the words that shape your life, but what you dare to do with them. Sacrifices today create options tomorrow. Sacrifices today create options tomorrow because every choice you make in the present either expands or limits your future. The hours you spend studying instead of scrolling, the money you save instead of wasting, the workouts you push through instead of skipping, they all accumulate into leverage that your future self will either thank you for or curse you for. Sacrifice feels painful in the moment because it demands that you delay gratification, that you give up comfort, that you walk away from pleasures others are indulging in right now. But beneath that pain is the seed of freedom. The brutal truth is that those who refuse to sacrifice today will be forced to sacrifice tomorrow. The person who avoids discipline with food will later sacrifice their health. The one who avoids saving will sacrifice their financial independence. The one who avoids hard work will sacrifice their dreams. Either way, you will sacrifice. What changes everything is whether you do it now by choice or later by force. Sacrifice today builds options tomorrow because it gives you control. It buys you choices in a world where most people are trapped by their lack of foresight. The disciplined few suffer a little now so they can choose later, choose where to live, choose how to work, choose when to rest, choose who to walk away from. Those who run from sacrifice end up cornered, their lives dictated by urgency and regret. The difference between freedom and slavery is often the willingness to endure short-term pain. Sacrifice is not loss. It's the down payment on tomorrow's possibilities. Money is freedom if managed well. Money is freedom if managed well because it buys you the rarest commodity in existence, choice. With money, you choose where to live, who to work with, when to rest, and how to spend your time. Without it, you are chained to obligations you despise, forced into jobs you hate, and trapped in survival mode, where dreams rot before they can even breathe. Money itself isn't the enemy. Mismanagement is. The brutal truth is that wealth can be a cage or a key, depending on how you handle it. When misused, money enslaves you. The bigger house, the luxury car, the endless chase for status purchases, they look like symbols of success, but they quietly become shackles. Debt mounts, stress rises, and suddenly the very thing meant to free you now owns you. Many people earn well but remain poor in spirit because every dollar they make is already spent, leaving them locked in cycles of fear and desperation. But when managed with discipline, money buys independence. It buys the ability to walk away from toxic jobs, to spend time with family, to pursue passion without starving, to live life on your terms. It transforms from mere currency into time, options, and peace of mind. The brutal beauty of this truth is that money itself is neutral. It doesn't care if you waste it or grow it. What matters is the choices you make with it. Used recklessly, it chains you. Used wisely, it unchains everything. Money is not happiness, but managed well. It is the foundation on which happiness has room to grow. Not everyone will like you. Not everyone will like you is a truth that cuts at the deepest human desire to be accepted, loved, and validated by all. No matter how kind you are, no matter how generous, no matter how careful you are with your words, there will always be someone who disapproves, misunderstands, or flat out despises you. People carry their own biases, insecurities, and wounds that have nothing to do with you, yet they will project them onto you like you're the canvas of their discontent. The mistake most people make is wasting their lives trying to win universal approval. They water themselves down, say yes when they want to say no, silence their opinions, and reshape their personalities in a desperate attempt to be liked by everyone. But universal likability is a fantasy. It doesn't exist. Even the greatest leaders, the kindest souls, and the most brilliant creators had critics who tore them apart. The liberating power of this truth is that once you accept not everyone will like you, you stop chasing ghosts. You stop begging for validation and start speaking with your own voice. You stop apologizing for existing and start attracting the people who genuinely resonate with your energy. The ones who dislike you will always find a reason, no matter what you do. So why sacrifice authenticity for an outcome that was impossible from the start? Yes, some will dislike you, some will misunderstand you, but others will admire you fiercely, love you deeply, and respect you because you dare to show up as yourself, and they are the ones worth living for. Knowledge without execution is worthless. Knowledge without execution is worthless, is a truth that crushes the illusion so many cling to, that simply knowing is enough. You can memorize strategies, master theories, and collect endless insights, But unless you take action, that knowledge rots inside you like food never eaten. The world doesn't reward what you know, it rewards what you do. A head full of untested wisdom is no different from an empty one when it comes to results. This truth cuts deep because it exposes why so many intelligent, educated people remain stuck while others with less knowledge surge ahead. Knowing how to build a business doesn't make you an entrepreneur. Understanding fitness science doesn't make you strong. Studying communication doesn't make you charismatic. Action is the bridge between knowledge and power, and most never cross it because fear, perfectionism, or laziness stops them cold. The sting of this truth is realizing that knowledge can become a trap. It fools you into believing you're progressing simply because you're learning. You feel busy, you feel productive, but nothing changes. You can drown in information and still starve in reality. The harsh beauty is that once you accept this, you stop glorifying knowledge for its own sake and start using it like a weapon. Even small, imperfect execution beats perfect theory untouched. Knowledge without execution is worthless because it only becomes valuable when it collides with reality, tested, sharpened, and proven through action. Until then, it's nothing but wasted potential echoing in your mind. Your comfort zone will kill your potential. Your comfort zone will kill your potential because it lulls you into a slow, quiet death disguised as safety. It feels warm, predictable, and easy, but beneath that softness lies the erosion of everything you could have been. The comfort zone whispers lies. Stay here. It's enough. Don't risk embarrassment. Don't face rejection. Don't push harder. And every time you listen, a piece of your potential withers away. The brutal truth is that nothing extraordinary has ever been created within comfort. Growth demands friction, struggle, and discomfort. The muscles you never strain remain weak. The ideas you never test remain fantasies, and the dreams you never chase remain regrets. Comfort convinces you to settle, but settling is simply trading your greatness for familiarity. Most people live their whole lives imprisoned in routines that keep them safe but unfulfilled. They mistake the absence of pain for the presence of happiness, never realizing they've chosen slow suffocation over true living. The comfort zone doesn't just keep you from winning, it blinds you to the fact that you're even losing. Your potential only awakens when you step into fear, risk, and pressure. That is where the breakthroughs live, where hidden strength surfaces, where the impossible becomes possible. But the longer you stay in comfort, the harder it becomes to leave, until one day you look back and realize you never truly lived. Comfort feels like protection, but it's really a coffin. The only way to unlock your potential is to break free, even if it terrifies you, even if it hurts, because the life you want will never exist inside the walls of comfort. You can't control others, only your actions. You can't control others, only your actions. And the sooner you accept this, the lighter life becomes. Most people waste years trying to bend others to their will, begging them to change, demanding respect, expecting loyalty, or resenting when they don't behave as hoped. But people are wild variables, shaped by their own wounds, desires, and choices. No amount of arguing, crying, or manipulating will ever force someone to act the way you think they should. The brutal truth is that the only leash you ever hold is the one tied to yourself. When you cling to the illusion of control, frustration consumes you. You replay conversations in your head, obsess over betrayals, and build expectations that collapse into disappointment. Every ounce of energy you spend trying to control others is energy stolen from improving yourself. And while you're busy drowning in resentment, life passes you by. The shift happens when you realize power lies not in controlling others, but in mastering your own responses. You can't stop betrayal, but you can choose how you rise from it. You can't dictate love, but you can decide your standards. You can't silence critics, but you can choose whether to keep building. This truth is brutal because it strips away the illusion that others are responsible for your peace, but it is also freeing because once you stop trying to control them, you reclaim control over yourself. The world becomes less about forcing obedience and more about building resilience, and that is where real power lives. Perception often matters more than truth. Perception often matters more than truth because people don't respond to reality itself. They respond to the version of reality they believe. You can be talented, hardworking, and genuine, yet if others perceive you as careless, lazy, or fake, their perception becomes the lens through which they treat you. Truth is steady, but human beings rarely dig deep enough to see it. They rely on surface impressions, emotional reactions, and quick judgments, and those shallow perceptions shape opportunities, relationships, and reputations far more than the hidden reality ever does. This feels unfair because we want truth to speak for itself, but in the brutal economy of influence, it doesn't. Politicians win not because they are always honest, but because they appear trustworthy. Leaders rise not just because they are competent, but because they project confidence. Even in personal relationships, how someone perceives your intent often matters more than what your intent actually was. The truth may defend you in time, but perception determines how you are treated in the present. This truth should not make you deceitful, but it should make you strategic. You cannot control every perception, but you can control the signals you send, the way you speak, the energy you carry, the consistency of your actions. Perception is fragile, but it is powerful. Ignore it, and you'll be dismissed despite your truth. Master it, and you'll open doors long before anyone bothers to discover who you really are. In a world where people rarely dig for depth, perception is the weapon that shapes your fate. Happiness requires effort. Happiness requires effort is a truth most people run from because it destroys the comforting lie that joy should come naturally. Many drift through life waiting for happiness to appear as if it will magically fall into their lap when the right job, partner, or circumstance arrives. But happiness is not delivered, it is built. It demands discipline, sacrifice, and conscious choices that often feel uncomfortable in the moment. This truth is brutal because people want happiness without the grind. They want peace without boundaries, fulfillment without discipline, joy without responsibility. But the reality is that happiness is the byproduct of effort, of caring for your health, of mastering your mind, of cutting toxic ties, of pursuing growth instead of stagnation. It doesn't simply bloom in the absence of problems. It must be cultivated in spite of them. The sting of this truth lies in the mirror it holds up. If you are unhappy, it isn't only the fault of the world, it's also the cost of choices you've made or refused to make. Happiness demands you stop numbing yourself with distractions, stop clinging to excuses, stop blaming everyone else for the emptiness you feel. Yet the beauty of this truth is its power. If happiness requires effort, then it's not out of reach, it's in your hands. Every small act of discipline, every sacrifice for growth, every decision to confront pain instead of escape it is a step toward real happiness. It won't come easy, but the effort is the very thing that makes it meaningful. Self-pity is poison. Self-pity is poison because it eats away at your will to fight while convincing you that you're justified in giving up. It disguises itself as comfort, whispering that you've been wronged, that life is unfair, that your suffering makes you special. For a moment, it feels soothing, like wrapping yourself in a blanket of excuses. But beneath that warmth, it's slowly killing your drive, your resilience, your ability to rise. The brutal truth is that self-pity doesn't heal you. It paralyzes you. It convinces you to replay your pain instead of repairing it, to talk about your struggles instead of conquering them, to wait for someone else to fix what only you can. It turns obstacles into permanent walls instead of temporary tests, leaving you stuck while the world keeps moving. Self-pity blinds you to solutions, because it teaches you to see yourself as a victim. And the moment you become the victim in your own story, you give up your power to change it. People may listen to your complaints, they may even sympathize, but deep down, the world does not stop for your sorrow. While you wallow, others are building, fighting, and clawing their way forward. The poison of self-pity spreads quietly. It robs your confidence, hardens your heart with bitterness, and makes you envious of those who refuse to drink it. The truth is, pain is inevitable, but pity is optional. The longer you indulge in it, the weaker you become, until your dreams rot inside you. Self-pity doesn't care about your healing. It only cares about keeping you small. Your mind can be your biggest enemy. Your mind can be your biggest enemy because it has the power to build entire prisons out of nothing but thoughts. It whispers doubts in the dark, magnifies failures until they feel permanent, and replays your worst memories like scars you can't stop scratching. It convinces you that you're not enough, that the risks are too big, that the future is doomed before you even try. And because your mind speaks with your own voice, you believe it. That's the cruelty of it. Your greatest battles often happen within, invisible to anyone else. Left unchecked, the mind sabotages everything. It will invent excuses to stay comfortable, exaggerate fears to keep you safe, and twist insecurities into anchors that drag you down. It can make you abandon opportunities before you even take the first step. It can trap you in endless overthinking, paralyzing you with what if, until all you're left with is regret. But the terrifying beauty of this truth is that the same mind that imprisons you can also free you. The thoughts that poison you can be replaced with ones that strengthen you. Your mind is a weapon, and like any weapon, it can destroy you if you don't learn to wield it. When you realize your mind is both the villain and the hero, you stop being a victim of your thoughts and start becoming their master. The war is not out there, it's inside. And if you can win in here, nothing outside can defeat you. Envy blinds you from learning. Envy blinds you from learning because it poisons your vision, turning someone else's success into a personal insult instead of a source of wisdom. When envy grips you, you no longer see the years of sacrifice, the sleepless nights, or the brutal failures that built another person's achievements. All you see is what you don't have, and that resentment shuts the door on curiosity. Instead of asking, "How did they do it?" you whisper, "Why not me?" And in that moment, you trade growth for bitterness. Envy is seductive because it disguises itself as fairness. It convinces you that life cheated you, that others had it easier, that their wins somehow stole your chance. But the truth is harsh. Their success takes nothing from you. If anything, it shines a light on what is possible. Yet envy distorts that light, making it unbearable to look at. It keeps you blind to the lessons hidden in their strategies, their persistence, their courage to keep going when you might have quit. The most dangerous part of envy is that it traps you in comparison, measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel. While you waste energy resenting their progress, you miss the opportunity to study it, to dissect it, to steal pieces of wisdom that could accelerate your own journey. Envy is a thief. It robs you twice, first of peace, and second of the education that only humility can unlock. The moment you replace envy with curiosity, the world transforms. Every success you once resented becomes a blueprint. Every rival becomes a teacher, and every achievement you see becomes proof that it can be done, and that you can do it too. Mediocrity is crowded. Excellence is lonely. Mediocrity is crowded. Excellence is lonely is a truth that most people don't realize until they start climbing. The path of mediocrity is packed, full of people making excuses, settling for good enough, and clinging to comfort zones like life rafts. It feels safe, it feels familiar, and it's overflowing with company because most would rather fit in than stand out. But the higher you climb, the fewer people you find beside you. Excellence demands sacrifice, discipline, and relentless pursuit, and most aren't willing to pay that price. This truth is painful because loneliness is the cost of rising. When you choose excellence, you outgrow conversations, habits, and even friendships. People will resent your ambition because it exposes their lack of it. They'll mock your standards because it reminds them of their mediocrity. The crowd doesn't cheer when you leave it. It tries to pull you back. That's why excellence feels isolating. It's a space where only the obsessed, the relentless, and the unbreakable survive. The sting of this truth is that greatness often means walking alone while others laugh, doubt, or turn their backs. But hidden in this solitude is clarity. In the silence of separation, you discover focus, strength, and the rare company of those few who chose the same brutal climb. Mediocrity will always feel comfortable because it's crowded. Excellence will always feel brutal because it's lonely. The difference is that mediocrity gives you company today, while excellence gives you legacy tomorrow. Most people quit too early. Most people quit too early because the path to anything worthwhile is longer, harsher, and lonelier than they ever imagined. At the beginning, excitement fuels them. Motivation is high, the vision is clear, and progress feels close. But then reality strikes, the setbacks, the silence, the lack of immediate results. Doubt creeps in, whispers grow louder, and the mind convinces them that maybe it wasn't meant to be. They don't fail because they couldn't succeed. They fail because they surrendered before the breakthrough. The brutal truth is that success often hides just beyond the point where most people give up. The body wants to quit long before its limits. The mind wants to escape discomfort long before growth begins. This is why winners are rare, not because they are more talented, but because they outlast everyone else. They keep moving when it's painful, when it's lonely, when every sign tells them to stop. Quitting early gives temporary relief, but lifelong regret. The projects abandoned, the dreams left half-built, the promises broken to yourself, these don't vanish, they haunt. Every time you quit, you train yourself to quit faster the next time until quitting becomes your reflex. Most people never realize how close they were. Success doesn't announce itself. It tests you first, asking, how badly do you want this? And most answer by quitting. The few who push past the breaking point discover what the rest never will, that perseverance isn't just a trait, it's the difference between a wasted life and one that leaves a mark. Failure teaches faster than success. Failure teaches faster than success because pain is a sharper teacher than comfort. Success feels good, but it lulls you into ease. It convinces you that what you did is enough, that you figured it out, that the struggle is over. Failure, on the other hand, rips away illusions in an instant. It exposes flaws you didn't see, weaknesses you ignored, and mistakes you were too blind to admit. Nothing burns lessons into your mind like the sting of falling flat on your face. The brutal truth is that failure humbles you. It forces you to confront reality without the cushion of pride. It makes you analyze, adjust, and rebuild in ways success never demands. Success feeds your ego, but failure starves it, leaving behind only the hunger to improve or the choice to quit. And it's in that raw space, when excuses die and accountability is all that's left, that true growth begins. People fear failure because it hurts, because it humiliates, because it feels like the end. But in reality, failure is acceleration. Each mistake slams doors shut so you can stop wasting time. Each loss teaches you what not to do. Each setback is a shortcut disguised as punishment. Success may be sweet, but it is slow to teach. Failure is ruthless, but it forges you quickly. The difference between those who rise and those who stay down is not whether they fail, but whether they choose to treat failure as a tombstone or as a teacher. Popularity doesn't equal respect. Popularity doesn't equal respect because being liked is not the same as being valued. Popularity is built on visibility, charm, and often the ability to entertain, but respect is earned through integrity, strength, and consistency. You can be surrounded by applause, laughter, and admiration one day, only to be discarded the next when the crowd finds someone shinier. Popularity is fragile. It feeds on attention. Respect, on the other hand, roots itself in who you are when no one is watching, and it endures even when the spotlight fades. The brutal truth is that many people chase popularity as if it were proof of worth. They bend their identity, silence their convictions, and become whatever they believe others want them to be, all to maintain approval. But respect cannot be faked. People may like the mask, but deep down, they know when someone lacks backbone. And when challenges come, popularity evaporates because the crowd admires amusement but follows strength. History is filled with figures who were adored publicly but forgotten quickly, while those who stood firm in their principles, even when disliked, were remembered with reverence. Respect is not about how many people cheer for you. It's about how deeply people trust you, even in your absence. This truth stings because it forces you to ask, do you want to be liked in the moment or remembered with honor in the end? Popularity makes noise, but respect makes impact. One fades with time, the other grows stronger long after your name leaves the crowd's lips. Success makes you a target. Success makes you a target is a truth that pierces the fantasy many hold, that reaching the top will bring nothing but admiration and love. The reality is far darker. The moment you rise, the moment you separate yourself from the crowd, eyes begin to turn. Some will watch with awe, but many will watch with envy. They'll see your success not as inspiration, but as a mirror reflecting their own shortcomings. And envy, once ignited, often disguises itself as hatred, gossip, or sabotage. This truth is brutal because success doesn't just give you rewards, it gives you enemies. Strangers will doubt your worth, competitors will plot your fall, and even friends may secretly wish you would fail. The higher you climb, the more arrows you attract, because people rarely attack those beneath them. They aim for those above. Every victory paints a target on your back. The sting of this truth is realizing that success won't protect you from criticism. It amplifies it. Your mistakes will be magnified, your wins downplayed, and your motives questioned. People will invent reasons to discredit what you've built, not because you don't deserve it, but because they don't want to face why they don't have it. And yet, this is the hidden price of greatness. If no one resents you, if no one challenges you, you probably haven't achieved much. Success makes you a target because it sets you apart, and standing apart is the essence of power. The hate you attract is proof you've risen far enough to be seen. Nobody thinks about you as much as you think. Nobody thinks about you as much as you think, because most people are too consumed with their own fears, insecurities, and struggles to obsess over yours. You replay the embarrassing moment, the mistake, the awkward silence, imagining that the world is still laughing at you. But the truth is, they've already moved on. People are wired to focus on themselves. They don't carry your flaws around in their heads the way you torment yourself with them. This truth is both crushing and freeing. Crushing because it humbles you, reminds you that you are not the center of anyone else's universe. Freeing because it liberates you from the prison of self-consciousness. All that hesitation, all that anxiety about what others might think is wasted energy. They're not thinking about you nearly as much as you believe. They're thinking about themselves, just like you are. The brutal reality is that your fear of judgment is often the very thing holding you back from growth. You bite your tongue, avoid risks, and play small because you imagine everyone is watching, waiting for you to fail. But when you realize how little space you occupy in their minds, the chains fall off. You stop living for their approval and start living for your own. Nobody thinks about you as much as you think, and that truth stings at first, but it's also your greatest power. It means you can stumble, fall, and rise again without the weight of endless eyes on you. It means you're free to take risks, to fail loudly, to chase wildly, because the spotlight you fear is only in your head. You will lose people you love. You will lose people you love because nothing in life is permanent. Death will take some, distance will take others, and time will quietly erode bonds you thought were unbreakable. This truth is brutal because love feels eternal when you're in it. Your parents feel immortal, your friends feel inseparable, your partner feels irreplaceable. Yet life has no mercy for your feelings. One day a phone call will split your world in two, or silence will stretch so long between you and someone else that the connection simply fades into memory. Losing people you love leaves wounds that never fully close. Birthdays pass with empty chairs, old photos sting like knives, and places once filled with laughter become haunted by ghosts of what used to be. Grief doesn't vanish. It becomes part of you, a weight you learn to carry but never drop. But buried inside this harsh reality is the reminder that love is precious precisely because it is temporary. Knowing you will lose people you love should ignite urgency to cherish them now, to say the words you hold back, to give the time you keep postponing, to forgive before regret makes it impossible. This truth shatters illusions, but it also clarifies what matters. Careers, possessions, and status all crumble in importance when you stand at a graveside or watch someone walk away forever. What remains is the love you gave and the moments you shared. You will lose people you love. That is inevitable. The only question is whether you will truly love them while you still can. Loneliness is part of growth. Loneliness is part of growth because the path to becoming your strongest self often requires stepping away from the crowd. When you decide to break habits, chase higher goals, or live by your own standards, you separate yourself from the comfort of belonging. Friends may not understand, family may question, strangers may judge. What once felt familiar begins to dissolve, and the silence of that distance can feel unbearable. But it is in that silence where transformation happens. Growth demands isolation, because true change rarely comes from doing what everyone else is doing. You cannot evolve while clinging to the same conversations, routines, and environments that kept you small. The late nights spent working when others are sleeping, the sacrifices you make while others indulge, the risks you take while others play safe, all of it creates an invisible wall between you and the crowd. That wall is loneliness, but it is also proof that you're moving beyond where they stopped. Most people run from loneliness, filling every empty space with distraction, but those who endure it discover something priceless: clarity. In the absence of noise, you hear your own voice. In the absence of constant validation, you build inner strength. The loneliness that feels like punishment is actually the crucible that shapes resilience, focus, and independence. The brutal truth is that if you're never lonely, you're probably not growing. The higher you climb, the fewer people there are at the top. And though the climb feels isolating, that solitude is the birthplace of the self you were meant to become. Life is a competition, whether you like it or not. Life is a competition, whether you like it or not, is a truth most people try to deny because it feels harsh and uncomfortable. We're told to be content, to avoid comparison, to simply do our best. But the world doesn't work that way. Every day you are competing for jobs, for money, for love, for recognition, for survival itself. Someone wants the same opportunity you're chasing. Someone is willing to work harder. Someone is ready to take your place if you hesitate. Pretending life isn't a competition doesn't make it less true. It just makes you weaker in the game you're already playing. This truth cuts deep because it forces you to abandon illusions of fairness and equality. The world doesn't hand out prizes for effort, only for results. The fastest, the smartest, the most disciplined, or sometimes simply the most relentless rise, while the rest are left behind. And while many complain about the unfairness of the system, others sharpen themselves to win within it. The sting of this truth is realizing that even if you opt out, you still lose. Choosing not to compete doesn't protect you. It just guarantees someone else takes what could have been yours. Life will not pause for you to catch up. It rewards those who understand the rules and fight accordingly. The brutal beauty is that competition also unlocks greatness. Pressure creates diamonds, and without rivals, you'd never know your true potential. Life is a competition, whether you like it or not, and the sooner you embrace it, the sooner you can rise above the ones still pretending it isn't. Procrastination is self-destruction. Procrastination is self-destruction because every moment you delay is a moment you steal from your own future. It feels harmless in the moment. 5 more minutes, tomorrow instead of today, later when the conditions are better. But procrastination is not rest. It's not recovery. It's sabotage, disguised as comfort. Every task you avoid piles weight on your back. Every dream you postpone slips further out of reach, and every excuse you make becomes another brick in the wall between you and the life you want. The brutal truth is that procrastination is choosing short-term relief over long-term fulfillment. It's the quiet killer of potential, the reason people with brilliance, talent, and ambition die with their music still inside them. You think you're avoiding discomfort, but what you're really creating is regret. And regret lasts longer than any temporary effort would have. Procrastination whispers that you have time, but time is ruthless. The days you waste don't come back. The opportunities you delay don't wait for you. And while you're stuck in hesitation, someone else is moving, building, and taking the life that could have been yours. What makes procrastination so dangerous is that it feels safe. It doesn't destroy you all at once. It kills you slowly. It robs you of urgency until you look back and realize you've spent years standing still. The truth is simple. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's self-betrayal. It's you turning your back on your future self, leaving them to suffer for the comfort you chose today. Luck favors those prepared. Luck favors those prepared because what most people call luck is often the collision of readiness with opportunity. From the outside, it looks like chance, a promotion handed out, a breakthrough moment, a door opening at the perfect time. But the truth is, if you're unprepared when that moment arrives, it passes you by, leaving you bitter and calling it bad fortune. The world doesn't reward wishes. It rewards those who put in the work long before the spotlight shines. Preparation is the hidden grind no one sees. It's the hours spent studying when no one is watching, the skills sharpened in silence, the discipline practiced daily. When opportunity appears, the unprepared call it luck, but the prepared call it payoff. The job offer comes to the one who already built the expertise. The chance encounter benefits the one who knows how to pitch their worth. The sudden opening is seized by the one who trained for it relentlessly. The brutal truth is that luck is rarely random. It is created. Life constantly throws opportunities at everyone, but most people are too distracted, too unready, or too afraid to grab them. That's why they call the few who succeed lucky. In reality, they were simply prepared to catch what others dropped. This truth is harsh because it exposes that missed chances aren't fate's cruelty. They are your lack of preparation. The world doesn't wait for you to be ready. It moves on. But if you are always sharpening, always learning, always grinding, then when fortune knocks, you won't need luck. You'll already be prepared to answer. Excelling will make others insecure. Excelling will make others insecure because your growth exposes what they've been avoiding in themselves. The moment you rise, you hold up a mirror to those still standing still, and not everyone can handle the reflection. Your discipline highlights their excuses. Your courage reveals their fears. Your success makes their comfort look like failure. Instead of being inspired, many will quietly resent you, wishing you would shrink so they don't have to confront their own lack of effort. This truth hurts because we want excellence to earn admiration, but often it breeds envy. Friends may grow distant, colleagues may downplay your wins, and even family may question your choices. They aren't angry at you. They're angry at what your existence reminds them of, that they too could have pushed harder, sacrificed more, and demanded better of themselves. Rather than face that truth, they project bitterness onto you. But this is the tax of greatness. Excelling separates you, not just from mediocrity, but from the comfort of being universally accepted. If you aim high, you must be prepared for whispered criticism, subtle sabotage, and the cold distance of those who once claimed to support you. The brutal beauty of this truth is that it forces you to decide, will you dim your light to soothe others, or will you burn brighter and let them feel the heat? Those who are truly secure will cheer for you. The rest will shrink in your shadow. Either way, their reaction is not your burden to carry. People use you if you allow it. People use you if you allow it is a truth that strips away the illusion of universal kindness. Human beings are wired to pursue self-interest, and if you present yourself as endlessly giving, endlessly forgiving, and endlessly available, someone will exploit that. It may be subtle, small favors that grow into constant demands, or it may be blatant, with people draining your time, your energy, and your resources while giving little or nothing in return. The harsh reality is that people will take as much as you let them. This truth is brutal because it forces you to confront the fact that your suffering isn't always caused by others. It's allowed by you. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you tolerate disrespect, every time you let someone cross a boundary without consequence, you're teaching them how to treat you. You're not just a victim of their selfishness, you're a participant in your own exploitation. The sting of this truth is in recognizing how much of your pain comes from silence, compliance, and fear of rejection. You want to be liked, so you let people take. You want peace, so you endure disrespect. But peace without boundaries isn't peace, it's submission. And yet, there is power in this realization. If people can only use you when you allow it, then you hold the key to ending it. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are survival. The moment you stop being easy to exploit, the users vanish, and those who remain are the ones who value you. Most problems are your fault. Most problems are your fault because whether you admit it or not, your choices, habits, and mindset create the majority of the outcomes you face. It's easy to blame luck, circumstance, or other people, but doing so strips you of the very power to change anything. The brutal truth is that your life is largely the result of your own decisions. The risks you didn't take, the discipline you avoided, the warnings you ignored, the people you allowed into your circle. Every action plants a seed, and most of your problems are simply the harvest of what you once sowed. This realization hurts because it shatters the illusion of victimhood. Blaming others feels good. It absolves you of responsibility, but it also locks you in the same cycle, guaranteeing that your problems repeat. Ownership, on the other hand, is painful at first, but liberating in the long run. When you accept that most problems are your fault, you finally understand that solutions are also within your control. Of course, life will sometimes throw chaos at you, loss, betrayal, tragedy, but even then, how you respond is on you. Do you collapse and rot in self-pity, or do you rise and adapt? Most people stay stuck because they refuse to face this mirror. They'd rather cling to excuses than face the shame of admitting, I caused this. But the few who accept this brutal truth become unstoppable. By owning their problems, they also own their power to fix them, and that shift changes everything. Perfectionism is procrastination in disguise. Perfectionism is procrastination in disguise because it pretends to be high standards when really it is fear dressed up as productivity. You tell yourself you're waiting until everything is flawless, until the timing is right, until you've polished every detail. But underneath that excuse lies the terror of failing, of being judged, of not being enough. Perfectionism convinces you that you're being careful, but what you're really doing is avoiding action. And while you wait for perfect, life moves on without you. The brutal truth is that perfection doesn't exist. No plan survives reality untouched, no creation comes out flawless, no path unfolds without mistakes. By clinging to perfectionism, you lock yourself in endless preparation while others, less talented but braver, overtake you by simply acting. History doesn't remember who hesitated until things were flawless. It remembers who showed up, who launched, who dared. Perfectionism is seductive because it feels safe. As long as you are not ready yet, you can't be criticized. But safety is a cage, and that cage robs you of growth. Every masterpiece began imperfect. Every success was built on messy, flawed attempts. Progress loves action, not excuses wrapped in pretty packaging. The harsh beauty of this truth is that once you expose perfectionism for what it really is, fear, you strip it of its power. Better ugly action today than a perfect plan that never sees the light. The world rewards those who do, not those who endlessly prepare to do. You won't get everything you want. You won't get everything you want because life is ruthless in its limitations. Time, energy, luck, and circumstance will not bend to every desire you hold. No matter how badly you crave certain outcomes, some doors will stay locked, some people will slip away, and some dreams will remain unfinished. This truth burns because it collides with the belief that effort guarantees reward, that wanting something enough will always bring it closer. But life doesn't work on desire, it works on trade-offs. Every yes demands 1,000 silent no's. The harshness of this reality is that some of your wants will die, not because you didn't deserve them, but because pursuing them would cost you more than you could bear. Sacrifice is unavoidable. To chase one path is to abandon another, and no one escapes that math. The fantasy of having it all crumbles under the weight of time's limits. You cannot live every life, love every person, or seize every opportunity. Some things will pass you by forever, but hidden in this brutality is freedom. When you accept you won't get everything, you stop chasing endlessly and start choosing wisely. You learn to prioritize what truly matters instead of scattering yourself thin across fleeting wants. The pain of loss turns into the power of focus. You may not get everything, but you can fight for what matters most with a clarity that half-hearted dreamers never find. And that fight, brutal as it is, gives your victories their meaning. No plan survives reality unchanged. No plan survives reality unchanged is a truth that humbles even the most prepared minds. You can map every step, calculate every risk, and craft the perfect strategy, but the moment you collide with reality, something will break. Unseen obstacles appear, timing shifts, people disappoint, and the world refuses to move according to your script. The illusion of control shatters the instant your plan meets the unpredictable chaos of life. This truth is brutal because it exposes the fragility of certainty. We want to believe that careful planning guarantees smooth execution, but reality doesn't care about your blueprint. The market changes, competitors adapt, storms roll in, and accidents happen. No matter how brilliant or detailed your plan, it will bend, twist, or crumble when exposed to forces beyond your control. The sting of this truth is that most people freeze when their plan collapses. They cling to what no longer works, wasting time trying to force a broken path instead of adapting. That's why so many fail, not because they didn't plan, but because they refused to pivot when the plan unraveled. Yet hidden in this truth is power. If you accept that no plan survives unchanged, you stop worshiping certainty and start mastering adaptability. You build resilience into your strategy, knowing flexibility is more valuable than perfection. Success doesn't come from creating flawless plans. It comes from surviving the moment they break and rewriting them in real time. Reality will always test you, but those who adapt are the ones who endure. Most risks aren't as big as you think. Most risks aren't as big as you think because the mind magnifies fear far beyond reality. Before you take the leap, your brain floods you with worst-case scenarios, humiliation, failure, loss, rejection. It convinces you that one wrong move will destroy everything, when in truth, most risks are small detours, not deadly cliffs. The brutal truth is that the fear of risk is often more dangerous than the risk itself because it keeps you paralyzed, stuck in the safety of what if, never tasting the reality of what could be. Look back at your life. The chances you didn't take haunt you more than the ones you did. How many moments did you let slip because you overestimated the danger? Asking someone out, speaking your truth, starting the project, changing direction. These are not life-ending risks, but your fear made them feel like they were. Most of the time, failure from risk is temporary, recoverable, and deeply educational, while the regret of never trying lingers forever. What makes risk powerful is not the chance of loss, but the possibility of growth. Every leap you take sharpens you, every mistake teaches you, and every rejection thickens your skin. The more risk you take, the more you realize how survivable they really are. The truth is simple. Most risks are shadows, big and frightening, until you step into them and see they were never as large as they appeared. And once you learn that, you stop being ruled by fear and start being guided by courage. Regret hurts more than failure. Regret hurts more than failure because failure is temporary, but regret lingers like a shadow that follows you until your last breath. When you fail, you feel the sting of loss, the humiliation of falling short, the pain of disappointment. But from failure comes feedback, lessons, and the chance to rise again. Failure at least gives you something to work with. Regret gives you nothing but the haunting weight of what could have been. The brutal truth is that time doesn't rewind. The risks you didn't take, the words you never said, the opportunities you let slip, all of them carve holes into your soul that no success can fill later. Failure fades into stories you tell about resilience. Regret festers into questions that will never have answers. You can heal from falling flat on your face, but how do you heal from never trying at all? People play it safe because they think avoiding failure will protect them, but what they're really doing is stockpiling regret for the future. They don't realize that the pain of embarrassment lasts a moment, but the pain of wondering what if lasts a lifetime. Failure is a bruise, regret is a scar, and scars don't fade. This truth is brutal because it forces you to choose your pain. Do you want the short sting of failure or the endless ache of regret? Those who understand this choose to act boldly, knowing that even if they fall, at least they will never face the torment of never having tried. You must face rejection countless times. You must face rejection countless times because rejection is the toll gate on the road to anything worthwhile. Every dream worth chasing, every opportunity worth seizing, every life worth living will demand that you stand in front of people who say no. It will sting, it will bruise your pride, claw at your confidence, and tempt you to quit. But rejection isn't proof that you're unworthy. It's proof that you dare to step forward into an arena where most people never even try. The brutal truth is that rejection is not rare, it's constant. The writer collects dozens of dismissals before one publisher finally says yes. The entrepreneur watches investors shrug off their vision until one finally sees the potential. The person searching for love may endure heartbreak after heartbreak before finding someone who stays. Each no feels personal, but in reality, it's part of the filtering system that weeds out the faint-hearted. Rejection is a mirror that forces you to adapt, sharpen, and grow. It teaches resilience in ways success never could. Every door slammed in your face makes you tougher. Every setback forces you to refine your skills. Every failure builds a thicker skin for the battles ahead. The people who succeed are not those who avoid rejection. They are the ones who can absorb it, survive it, and still knock again. Countless rejections are inevitable because greatness is scarce, and the only way to claim it is to be willing to hear no so many times that, when the rare yes finally arrives, you are ready to make it count. Weakness invites exploitation. Weakness invites exploitation is a truth that exposes the the darker side of human nature. The world is not filled with saints. It's filled with people scanning for advantage, consciously or unconsciously. When you display weakness, whether it's emotional dependency, lack of boundaries, financial instability, or insecurity, you signal to others that you are easy to manipulate, easy to control, and easy to use. Predators don't waste energy on the strong. They circle the vulnerable, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This truth is brutal because it forces you to see how cruelty often thrives on opportunity. Bullies target the timid. Manipulators prey on the desperate. Abusers test how much you'll tolerate and push further each time you don't resist. The world doesn't always reward kindness. It often exploits it when it isn't paired with strength. Compassion without power becomes an invitation to be drained. The sting of this truth lies in the mirror it holds. If you are constantly exploited, it's not only because others are selfish, it's because you've allowed your weakness to remain exposed. You've given away control by refusing to harden where life demands it. But the hidden gift of this truth is empowerment. If weakness attracts exploitation, then strength repels it. Boundaries, resilience, confidence, and competence are shields that shift how the world treats you. The moment you stop bleeding weakness, the predators scatter. You cannot erase exploitation from existence, but you can remove yourself from its target list by becoming too strong to be prey. Success creates new problems. Success creates new problems because every level you reach comes with challenges you couldn't see from the bottom. You dream of wealth, recognition, and freedom, imagining that once you achieve them, life will finally feel effortless. But the brutal truth is that success doesn't erase problems. It simply replaces old ones with new ones, often bigger and heavier. The broke dream of paying bills, the rich wrestle with protecting wealth, the unknown fight to be noticed, the famous struggle to be left alone. The employee fears losing their job. The entrepreneur fears their entire company collapsing. What people rarely understand is that success amplifies everything. It magnifies your weaknesses, exposes your blind spots, and attracts envy, criticism, and competition. The higher you climb, the more eyes are on you, and the more pressure you face. What once felt like freedom can begin to feel like a cage built out of expectation and responsibility. But this truth isn't meant to discourage. It's meant to prepare. Success doesn't remove struggle. It transforms it. The difference is that the problems of success are problems of growth, not stagnation. They are heavier, yes, but they're also proof that you've moved forward. The key is realizing that if you can't handle the small problems now, you won't survive the larger ones waiting for you at the next level. Success is not the end of difficulty. It's the evolution of it. The question is never whether problems go away, but whether you're willing to carry the weight of bigger ones to reach the life you say you want. Nobody will work harder for your dream than you. Nobody will work harder for your dream than you because no one else can feel the fire burning inside you. To others, your dream is just an idea, a possibility, or even a distraction from their own pursuits. They may support you, cheer you on, or lend a hand for a while, but they will never bleed for it the way you must. The brutal truth is that even those who love you most will not sacrifice their comfort, their sleep, or their future for something that only lives in your heart. That burden belongs to you alone. It's easy to believe that once people see your vision, they'll jump in with the same passion. But passion can't be transferred. It must be owned. Employees will work for a paycheck, friends may offer encouragement, and mentors might give advice, but none of them will grind through the long nights, face the humiliating failures, or endure the endless doubts on your behalf. Only you will. This truth can feel isolating, but it is also freeing, because once you stop expecting others to carry your load, you pick it up with both hands and move faster. You stop resenting people for not helping and start building the muscle to move forward regardless. And the irony is that once you prove your commitment, Once you show through relentless effort that you will chase your dream no matter what, people begin to believe. Support grows, doors open, opportunities appear, but it always begins with you. Your dream is your responsibility. If you won't fight for it harder than anyone else, don't expect anyone else to fight for it at all. Blaming others keeps you stuck. Blaming others keeps you stuck because it hands over the keys to your life and says, "You're in control, not me." Every time you point the finger at your parents, your boss, your partner, society, you surrender your power to change. Blame is comforting because it shields you from responsibility. It tells you the reason you're unhappy, broke, or unfulfilled is someone else's fault, which means you don't have to face the painful truth. Your choices, your actions, and your mindset are shaping your reality. But the brutal cost of blame is paralysis. When it's always someone else's fault, you stop looking inward for solutions. You stop asking, "What can I do differently?" and instead replay the same tired story of betrayal, unfairness, or bad luck. That story may win you sympathy, but it will never move you forward. Sympathy doesn't change your circumstances. Ownership does. Life will always hand you unfairness, obstacles, and setbacks you didn't deserve. But the moment you choose blame over responsibility, you choose to chain yourself to those setbacks. Blame locks you in the past, while responsibility frees you to shape the future. The people who rise out of chaos aren't the ones who cry the loudest about what was done to them. They're the ones who stare down the pain and decide, "It's on me now." Blaming others keeps you stuck in the role of a victim. Taking ownership, even of what wasn't your fault, transforms you into the one person capable of breaking free. The market doesn't care about your effort, only value. The market doesn't care about your effort, only value is a truth that crushes egos. You can bleed for your work, stay up nights, sacrifice weekends, and give every ounce of yourself. But if what you create doesn't solve a problem, doesn't meet a demand, doesn't improve someone else's life, the market will ignore you. Effort may earn sympathy, but value earns reward. The world doesn't pay you for how hard you tried. It pays you for what you produced that mattered. This truth is brutal because it destroys the comforting belief that hard work automatically deserves recognition. People love to cling to the idea that sacrifice equals entitlement, but the market is blind to your struggles. It doesn't see the hours you worked, it only sees the result. And if that result doesn't deliver impact, innovation, or improvement, your effort is meaningless in the eyes of the world. The sting of this truth lies in realizing how much wasted energy people pour into being busy instead of being valuable. They confuse motion with progress, effort with effectiveness, sweat with success. Then they feel cheated when the world doesn't reward them. But the world isn't cruel, it's indifferent. The hidden beauty of this truth is that once you accept it, you stop worshiping effort for effort's sake and start focusing on outcomes. You learn to ask, what value am I creating? Who is this helping? Why does it matter? Because the market doesn't care how much you gave. It only cares whether what you gave was worth something. Discipline builds freedom. Discipline builds freedom because it gives you control over yourself in a world that constantly tries to control you. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want whenever you want, but that's not freedom. That's slavery to impulse. True freedom comes when you master your urges, when you train your body and mind to obey your higher goals instead of your momentary cravings. The brutal truth is that without discipline, you will always be chained to laziness, chained to addiction, chained to regret. Discipline may feel restrictive at first. Waking up early, saving money instead of spending it, choosing the gym over the couch, studying when you'd rather relax, all of it feels like sacrifice. But every act of discipline is an investment, and those investments compound into a life where you control your destiny instead of being dragged by it. The undisciplined live in chaos, constantly fixing problems, created by their own lack of control, while the discipline builds structure that opens doors others will never see. The irony is that discipline, which feels like restriction, creates more options. The person disciplined with money has the freedom to walk away from toxic jobs. The person disciplined with health has the freedom to live fully while others collapse early. The person disciplined in craft has the freedom to create opportunities while others wait for luck. Discipline is not punishment. It's the foundation of freedom. It's the bridge between who you are and who you could be, and the stronger you build it, the wider your world becomes. Ignorance is punished, not forgiven. Ignorance is punished, not forgiven, because the world does not excuse what you don't know. You can plead innocence, you can claim no one told you, you can insist you didn't understand, but reality does not bend for your lack of knowledge. If you drink poison without knowing it's poison, your body still suffers. If you sign a contract without reading it, the consequences still bind you. Life does not grant pardons for ignorance. It delivers consequences with the same cold precision as if you knew exactly what you were doing. The brutal truth is that ignorance is expensive. It costs people their health when they neglect their bodies, their freedom when they ignore the law, their wealth when they fail to understand money, and their future when they avoid learning. The world is merciless in this way. It doesn't care if you didn't know better. It only cares about what you did. This truth is painful because it exposes how vulnerable we all are when we refuse to seek knowledge. Every gap in your understanding is a doorway for exploitation. Predators, systems, and circumstances are waiting to take advantage of those who remain blind. And while people may feel pity, life itself offers no protection. But there is power in this brutality. If ignorance is punished, then knowledge is armor. Every lesson learned, every skill acquired, every truth uncovered shields you from being a victim. You can't know everything, but you can know enough. The responsibility is yours to learn, to prepare, to seek truth, because ignorance will never save you. It will only break you. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It just hides them. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It just hides them, tucking pain into the shadows where it festers quietly. People love to repeat the comforting lie that time erases suffering, that if you simply wait long enough, the ache will dissolve. But time is not a healer. It is a masker. It buries heartbreak under routine, covers trauma with distractions, and muffles grief beneath the noise of daily life. Yet the wound still lives beneath the surface, raw and waiting, ready to bleed again when triggered. The brutal truth is that scars don't form on their own. Healing takes work, facing the memories you want to forget, confronting the pain you'd rather ignore, and tearing open the infection so it can finally close clean. Time without action only numbs, it never cures. That's why people can still rage decades after betrayal, still crumble at the sound of a certain song, still wake up sweating from nightmares tied to events long gone. The clock doesn't erase, it only distances. This is why so many walk around smiling while carrying invisible fractures. They appear fine, but underneath, unhealed wounds guide their choices, poison their relationships, and haunt their quiet moments. The lie of time's healing convinces them they've moved on, when in reality, they've only grown better at hiding. Acknowledging this truth is painful but necessary. Healing requires confrontation, courage, and deliberate effort. Without it, time doesn't free you. It just teaches you how to live with ghosts. You can't help people who won't help themselves. You can't help people who won't help themselves is a truth that cuts through the fantasy of saving others. You can pour your time, energy, and love into someone drowning, but if they refuse to swim, they will drag you under with them. No amount of advice, support, or sacrifice can change a person who isn't willing to change. People must choose to rise, and until they do, your efforts will be wasted on deaf ears and closed hearts. This truth is brutal because it collides with compassion. You want to believe you can fix them, that if you love harder, give more, or fight longer, you can drag them into the light. But in reality, you can't carry someone who is determined to stay broken. You can't fill a cup that has no bottom. You can't ignite fire in someone who clings to their own darkness. The sting of this truth lies in the heartbreak of watching people you care about sabotage themselves. You see their potential, their wasted gifts, their excuses repeated like mantras. You bleed for them, but nothing changes because the choice is not yours, it's theirs. And yet, this truth is also liberating. Once you accept it, you stop destroying yourself, trying to rescue those who refuse to be saved. You stop confusing self-destruction with kindness. You give help where it can grow, not where it is endlessly consumed. Because the harsh reality is simple. Until someone decides to fight for themselves, no one else can win their battle. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone has an agenda because every person you meet is driven by needs, desires, and motives, whether they admit it or not. The brutal truth is that people rarely act without reason. Behind the kindness, the generosity, the flattery, or even the silence, there's usually something they want: validation, influence, advantage, opportunity, or simply the satisfaction of being seen as good. This doesn't make people evil, it makes them human. Survival, success, and recognition have always been the engines behind behavior. The danger lies in forgetting this. When you naively assume people act out of pure selflessness, you set yourself up to be manipulated, disappointed, or blindsided. Friends, colleagues, lovers, even family, they may genuinely care, but their actions are still colored by what they need. The favor someone offers might be a setup for the favor they'll later demand. The praise you receive might be bait for your compliance. The love you feel might be tangled with expectations you never asked for. Understanding that everyone has an agenda doesn't mean living in paranoia. It means living with clarity. It means listening between the lines, asking yourself, why are they saying this? Why are they offering this? What do they stand to gain? When you see the world this way, you stop being a pawn and start becoming a player. People's agendas can align with yours, and that's where powerful partnerships are born. But forgetting that agendas exist is how you lose control. Everyone has an agenda, and the sooner you accept it, the harder you become to deceive. Patience is rare and powerful. Patience is rare and powerful because in a world addicted to speed, instant gratification, and quick rewards, the ability to wait, endure, and persist is almost superhuman. Most people quit when results don't come fast enough. They abandon their goals, sabotage relationships, and destroy opportunities because they can't tolerate the discomfort of waiting. But time is the great filter. Those who endure while others give up inevitably rise above. The brutal truth is that nothing meaningful happens overnight. Success, mastery, deep love, financial freedom, all of it requires time, consistency, and persistence through boredom and setbacks. Impatience kills dreams because it convinces you that progress isn't happening, when in reality, growth is simply invisible for a while. Seeds don't sprout the day they're planted, yet most people dig theirs up too soon, never realizing how close they were to breakthrough. Patience is powerful because it compounds. The disciplined investor who waits while others panic builds wealth. The dedicated learner who studies every day while others chase shortcuts achieves mastery. The partner who endures storms instead of running at the first sign of struggle builds unshakable love. Patience quietly multiplies results while impatience robs them. What makes patience rare is that it feels like doing nothing in a world obsessed with constant motion. But in truth, patience is not passive. It is active endurance. It is the strength to keep working, keep believing, and keep holding steady when your emotions beg you to quit. Those who master patience wield a weapon stronger than luck, talent, or speed. Pride ruins more than it builds. Pride ruins more than it builds because it blinds you to truth, deafens you to advice, and hardens you against change. Pride whispers that you're always right, that you don't need help, that admitting weakness makes you lesser. It convinces you to protect your ego at all costs, even if it means burning bridges, sabotaging opportunities, and clinging to lies that keep you small. Pride feeds on validation, but in chasing it, you sacrifice growth, connection, and peace. The brutal truth is that many lives are destroyed not by lack of talent or resources, but by unchecked pride. Relationships shatter when apologies are withheld. Careers stall when people refuse to admit mistakes. Dreams die when stubbornness replaces humility. Pride promises strength but delivers fragility, because anything built on ego crumbles the moment it is challenged. What makes pride so dangerous is its disguise. It feels like confidence, but true confidence has no problem admitting fault, asking for help, or learning from failure. Pride cannot do any of these. Pride builds walls where bridges should stand, isolates you from others, and convinces you that lowering your guard is the same as lowering your worth. Yes, pride can fuel ambition, but when it runs unchecked, it turns victories hollow and leaves you surrounded by resentment instead of respect. The world remembers those who were strong enough to rise, but it reveres those who were humble enough to listen, learn, and bend. Pride may give you fleeting power, but humility builds legacies that last. Some opportunities never come back. Some opportunities never come back is a truth that burns with regret when ignored. Life offers windows, moments where the right time, the right place, and the right choice align. If you hesitate, if you let fear or laziness stall you, those windows slam shut. You tell yourself you'll have another chance, that the timing will be better later, but later often never arrives. Opportunities are living things, and once they die, they rarely resurrect. This truth is brutal because it forces you to face the permanence of missed chances. The job you didn't apply for, the love you didn't confess to, the risk you didn't take. They don't sit around waiting for you to be ready. They move on, and once gone, they take with them a future that could have been yours. People waste their lives believing doors will stay open, only to discover they've locked for good. The sting of this truth lies in its silence. You don't always know when the opportunity you passed on was the last one. You only realize it when it's too late, when someone else stands where you could have, when the moment fades into memory, when the chance no longer exists. But hidden inside this cruelty is a fire. If some opportunities never come back, then hesitation is death. You stop waiting for perfect timing and start moving when the door appears, because tomorrow is never promised, and the chances you ignore today may be the ones that would have changed everything. You're not as busy as you think. You're just unfocused. You're not as busy as you think. You're just unfocused. And that's a truth most people refuse to face. We live in a world that glorifies busyness, where being overwhelmed is mistaken for being important. People complain about their endless to-do lists, their lack of time, their chaotic schedules. But the reality is this: most of their energy is wasted, scattered across distractions, procrastination, and meaningless tasks that keep them feeling productive without moving them forward. Busyness is often just disguised avoidance. The brutal truth is that you do have the time, you just don't have the focus. Hours vanish into scrolling, into conversations that don't matter, into worrying about things you'll never change. The mind craves stimulation, and unfocused people feed it junk food, then wonder why their lives feel heavy and directionless. They confuse motion with progress, activity with accomplishment, chaos with meaning. Focus, on the other hand, cuts through the noise. When you decide what truly matters and give it your full attention, you discover how much time you actually have. A focused hour is worth more than a distracted day. A clear priority is stronger than 10 half-hearted attempts. The difference between the successful and the stuck is rarely time, it's clarity. You're not drowning because your plate is too full. You're drowning because you filled it with scraps. The harsh truth is that your busyness is self-inflicted, and until you stop mistaking distraction for importance and start focusing with precision. You will keep feeling busy while going nowhere. Momentum makes success easier. Momentum makes success easier because once you're in motion, progress begins to compound in ways that feel unstoppable. The first steps are always the hardest, pushing against inertia, fighting doubt, dragging yourself into action when nothing seems to be working. But once you create movement, the effort begins to multiply itself. Each win fuels the next, each habit strengthens the next, and suddenly, what once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. The brutal truth is that most people never experience momentum because they quit too early. They grind for a week, a month, maybe even a year, and then stop just before the compounding effect kicks in. They restart over and over, exhausting themselves with beginnings, but never pushing long enough to taste the exponential power of consistency. Momentum is the invisible force that separates those who barely try from those who achieve greatness. Momentum doesn't just make progress faster, it makes it easier. Discipline that once felt unbearable becomes automatic. Work that once drained you becomes second nature. The weight that once crushed you becomes the very thing that strengthens you. Like a snowball rolling downhill, momentum grows with every rotation until it is unstoppable, crushing obstacles that once seemed immovable. The beauty of this truth is that you don't need massive leaps to create momentum. You just need to keep moving. Small actions, repeated relentlessly, build the avalanche. Once you harness momentum, success feels less like a struggle and more like gravity pulling you forward. And that is when greatness becomes not just possible, but natural. Entropy wins if you do nothing. Entropy wins if you do nothing because everything in life naturally decays without effort. Your body weakens if you stop training. Your mind dulls if you stop learning. Your relationships fade if you stop nurturing them. Order requires energy, but chaos requires nothing at all. It creeps in silently the moment you grow complacent. Comfort convinces you that standing still is safe, but in reality, stillness is slow death. The brutal truth is that neglect always costs more than effort, because while you do nothing, entropy is busy dismantling everything you've built. This is why dreams rot when not pursued, why talents rust when not sharpened, why opportunities vanish when not seized. The universe doesn't reward potential, it punishes inaction. Time doesn't pause for you to get ready. It drags you forward whether you act or not. And if you refuse to fight for progress, decay will claim your body, your ambition, and your spirit. Entropy doesn't need permission. It takes your health while you binge distractions. It takes your future while you hesitate. It takes your relationships while you assume they'll always be there. Every day you do nothing, the silent erosion grows stronger, and by the time you notice, pieces of your life have already collapsed. But this truth is also a weapon. If entropy never sleeps, neither can you. It forces you to value momentum, to embrace discipline, to move even when you don't feel like it. Because the second you stop building, entropy starts winning, and it never shows mercy. The world rewards results, not effort. The world rewards results, not effort is a truth that strips away the comforting lie that trying is enough. You can pour your heart into a project, sacrifice your sleep, bleed yourself dry with endless hours of work. But if you don't deliver results, the world doesn't care. Effort feels noble, but results are what move people, markets, and history. A failed bridge doesn't earn praise for the hours spent designing it. A business that collapses isn't celebrated because the founder worked so hard. The scoreboard doesn't track effort, it tracks wins. This truth is brutal because it exposes how unfair reality feels. You may work harder than someone else and still watch them surpass you because their actions produced impact while yours produced excuses. People hide behind how much they tried as if effort is currency, but the world doesn't trade in effort, it trades in outcomes. The sting of this truth is that effort without results becomes self-deception. You can convince yourself you're grinding, that you deserve recognition, but if nothing changes, it's meaningless. Busy doesn't equal productive. Trying doesn't equal succeeding. And yet, this truth is also liberating. Once you accept that only results matter, you stop worshiping sweat for its own sake and start working smarter, sharper, and more strategically. You stop hiding behind effort and start demanding results from yourself. The world doesn't reward how hard you worked. It rewards what your work created. And until you face that, you'll remain stuck in the crowd of those who tried but never delivered. You can't be great at everything. You can't be great at everything because greatness demands obsession, and obsession has no room for spreading yourself thin. The brutal truth is that mastery requires sacrifice, and when you try to master everything, you master nothing. Time, energy, and focus are limited currencies, and the more you scatter them across countless pursuits, the weaker each effort becomes. This is why so many talented people remain mediocre. They chase every possibility, but commit to none. The world often tells you to do it all, but doing it all is the fastest way to stay average. Greatness is forged through ruthless focus, the kind that narrows your vision to one pursuit so intensely that everything else fades into the background. That's why the best athletes, artists, leaders, and innovators often seem one-dimensional. They chose depth over breadth, excellence over balance. The painful part of this truth is letting go of potential. You may have the skill to sing, write, build, or lead, but you cannot do all of them at the highest level. Choosing greatness in one area means burying the illusion of being great in many. It's a trade most people can't stomach, which is why true greatness is rare. You can dabble in everything, but if you want to be undeniable in something, you must decide where to aim your fire. You can't be great at everything, but if you're willing to burn for one thing, you can be legendary at it, and that is a choice only the brave make. Focus beats talent. Focus beats talent because raw ability without direction is wasted potential. The world is filled with people who are naturally gifted, brilliant minds, strong bodies, creative souls, yet most of them never reach greatness because their energy is scattered. Talent makes you capable, but focus makes you unstoppable. When you channel your attention fully, when you cut out distractions and pour yourself into one pursuit with relentless intensity, you outpace those who rely on talent alone. The brutal truth is that talent is common, but discipline and focus are rare. Everyone knows someone who could have been extraordinary if only they had committed. They had the intelligence, the skill, or the creativity, but they let their attention drift, chasing too many things, starting but never finishing, dabbling instead of mastering. Meanwhile, the one with average ability but laser focus continues to rise step by step until they surpass the naturally gifted. Focus is a force multiplier. It sharpens your skills faster, deepens your knowledge, and compounds your progress. 10 years of scattered effort can't compete with even 5 years of focused intensity. Talent gives you a head start, but without focus, you'll stumble before the finish line. This truth stings because it destroys the myth that talent alone is enough. It isn't. Focus is the weapon that turns potential into power. It's the choice to shut out noise, to say no to distractions, and to pour yourself so deeply into one thing that success becomes not a possibility, but a certainty. Talent is a gift. Focus is a decision, and decisions always win. You can't escape consequences. You can't escape consequences because every choice you make, every action you take, and every word you speak plants a seed that will eventually grow. Some bloom quickly, others take years to surface, but none vanish into nothing. The brutal truth is that life keeps score even when you pretend it doesn't. You can lie, cheat, procrastinate, neglect, or hide, but the cost always finds you. Sometimes it arrives as lost opportunities, sometimes as broken trust, sometimes as a body that finally collapses after years of abuse. The illusion of escape is seductive. People convince themselves they got away with cutting corners, with mistreating others, with betraying themselves. For a while, it seems true. Life appears to move on, nobody calls them out, and the punishment doesn't come. But consequences are patient. They don't always knock immediately. They build quietly until one day they arrive with interest, heavier and harsher than you imagined. This truth can feel cruel, but it's also the foundation of justice. If you work relentlessly, learn constantly, and treat others with respect, those choices will compound just as powerfully as mistakes do. You may not see the results today, but the reward will come just as surely as the penalty arrives for negligence. You cannot cheat cause and effect. You can only decide which consequences you want to live with, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Either way, the bill always comes due, and you will pay it in full. Most people lie, often to themselves. Most people lie, often to themselves, is a truth that unravels the fragile fabric of human behavior. Lies aren't just the stories people tell others. They're the comforting delusions they feed themselves to survive the weight of reality. People lie about being happy in relationships that are dying. They lie about loving jobs they secretly despise. They lie about their discipline, their health, their potential. These lies are shields, flimsy armor against the pain of facing the truth that change requires courage they don't yet have. This truth is brutal because it exposes how much of life is lived in denial. People would rather distort reality than confront it. They say they'll start tomorrow, that they'll chase their dreams when the timing is better, that they're doing their best when deep down they know they aren't. These lies soothe in the moment but slowly rot a person from the inside out. The sting of this truth is in recognizing your own reflection in it. You too have told yourself lies. You've downplayed your fears, excused your procrastination, exaggerated your effort. The most dangerous lies are not the ones told to others, but the ones you whisper to yourself until you believe them. And yet, this truth carries liberation. The moment you stop lying to yourself, you regain power. Self-deception keeps you stuck, but brutal honesty forces growth. Most people will live and die believing their lies, but if you choose truth, even when it rips you apart, you'll live with clarity, and clarity is the beginning of freedom. You are responsible for your emotions. You are responsible for your emotions is a truth that strips away the comforting excuse that life and other people are to blame for how you feel. Emotions are real, messy, and often involuntary, but how you interpret, react to, and feed them is a choice. Blaming others for your anger, sadness, or anxiety hands them the steering wheel of your life and makes you a passenger in your own story. The brutal reality is that when you refuse ownership, you remain powerless, reactive, tossed by every slight setback and opinion that crosses your path. Owning your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them or pretending they don't exist. It means noticing the trigger, naming the feeling, and deciding what to do with it instead of knee-jerk reacting. That moment between stimulus and response is where power lives. When you learn to pause, breathe, and interrogate the story your mind is telling you, you stop being a puppet and become the author. This skill is terrifyingly empowering. It transforms blame into agency, chaos into strategy, and pain into a signal for action. People who refuse this responsibility stay stuck repeating the same dramas, allowing small insults to ruin entire days, and making decisions from temporary storms. Those who accept it become builders. They use emotion as feedback, discipline their reactions, and choose responses that align with their future, not their momentary fury. Emotion will always visit. Responsibility determines whether it destroys you or refines you. People admire strength, not weakness. People admire strength, not weakness, because human nature is drawn to power, resilience, and the ability to endure. We respect those who rise after being knocked down, who carry themselves with confidence in the face of chaos, who refuse to break when life tries to shatter them. Strength inspires because it represents what most people wish they could embody themselves: control, stability, and the courage to keep going despite the odds. Weakness, on the other hand, may draw sympathy for a moment, but it rarely earns respect. The brutal truth is that the world is harsh, and people look for leaders, protectors, and examples to follow. They admire the warrior who keeps fighting, not the one who surrenders. They admire the individual who takes responsibility, not the one who collapses into excuses. Even in relationships, strength attracts because it makes others feel safe, while weakness repels because it radiates instability. This doesn't mean you must never feel pain or vulnerability. Those are human. But if you live in weakness, constantly broadcasting your helplessness, people will eventually turn away. The world already has enough brokenness. It craves examples of strength. Strength doesn't mean being unshakable. It means choosing to rise again and again, no matter how many times you fall. That persistence, that refusal to be crushed, is what makes people look at you with admiration instead of pity. Weakness may win attention, but strength wins respect. And in the end, respect will carry you further than sympathy ever will. Hardship reveals true friends. Hardship reveals true friends because when life strips away comfort, success, and advantage, the people left standing beside you are the ones who were never there for what you could give. They were there for you. In good times, it's easy to be surrounded by laughter, attention, and praise. People love basking in your wins, your status, your shine. But when the lights go out, when failure hits, when grief crushes your chest, most will vanish. Their absence is painful, but it is also clarifying. The brutal truth is that struggle exposes loyalty in ways prosperity never can. Fair weather friends disappear when you can no longer benefit them. Pretenders suddenly become busy. Acquaintances offer shallow words but no real support. Hardship is the fire that burns away illusion, leaving behind the rare few who will sit with you in the ashes, who will share in your silence, who will stand between you and the storm. It's in those dark hours that you see people's true nature, not in how they celebrate you, but in how they suffer with you. And sometimes, the deepest bonds of your life are forged not in joy, but in pain. Hardship strips you bare and forces the truth out of others. Who's real, who's temporary, and who was only there for the ride. You may lose many in the process, but what remains is unshakable. The friends who stay when the world crumbles are not just companions. They are family you earned in the fire of your own struggle. You can't outrun aging. You can't outrun aging is a truth that creeps closer with every passing day, whether you acknowledge it or not. No matter how fast you move, how much money you earn, or how hard you fight, time is always winning. Youth feels infinite until it isn't, until you notice the lines in the mirror, the slowing recovery, the quiet betrayals of a body that once felt invincible. Aging is the one opponent that never tires, never stops, and never loses. This truth is brutal because it strips away the illusion of permanence. People build their lives as if they have endless tomorrows, putting off dreams, health, and love for some later moment. But later always comes with a price. The energy you waste today will not return. The risks you avoid in your youth may never present themselves again. The longer you wait, the narrower the path becomes. The sting of this truth lies in how merciless time really is. It doesn't care if you're wealthy, powerful, or kind. It takes from everyone equally: youth, beauty, strength, and eventually life itself. You cannot bargain with it, and you cannot escape it. But inside this cruelty is a gift. If you cannot outrun aging, then the only choice is to respect it, to treat your health as sacred, to seize moments now instead of hoarding them for later, to live urgently instead of sleepwalking through your days. Aging will catch you no matter what, but how you meet it, broken or blazing, is entirely up to you. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent is a truth that both wounds and frees you. Everything you know, your youth, your health, your relationships, your success, your pain, will eventually change or vanish. The brutal reality is that time erodes all things, and no matter how tightly you cling, life will pry it from your hands. This is why joy feels fleeting, why grief feels overwhelming, and why people waste years trying to resist the inevitable flow of change. Permanence is an illusion we create to feel safe, but it has never existed. This truth can crush you if you fight it. You will lose people you love. You will watch moments fade into memories. You will outgrow friends, places, and versions of yourself. The world will shift, whether you are ready or not. But within this harshness lies an extraordinary gift, because if nothing is permanent, then no pain lasts forever, no failure defines you eternally, and no circumstance is unchangeable. Every chapter closes, and with it, the chance for another to begin. Most people suffer more from resisting change than from change itself. They cling to the past, chase the illusion of stability, and grieve the loss of what they thought would last forever. But those who embrace impermanence gain freedom. They live with urgency, love more deeply, and dare more boldly because they know every moment is fragile. Nothing is permanent, not your suffering, not your success, not even your life. And when you finally accept that, you stop waiting for forever and start living for now. Status is fragile. Status is fragile because it rests not on who you are, but on how others perceive you. And perception can shift in an instant. One wrong word, one public mistake, one rumor whispered loudly enough, and the pedestal you stood on crumbles beneath you. The recognition you worked years to build can vanish overnight, replaced by criticism, mockery, or indifference. Status is not solid, it is glass, and every moment you carry it, it can shatter. The brutal truth is that status is never truly yours. It is borrowed from the opinions of others, granted by their admiration, respect, or envy. And because people are fickle, easily swayed, and quick to move on, the value they place on you can disappear without warning. Today you are praised, tomorrow you are forgotten. Today you are celebrated, tomorrow you are canceled. The higher you climb, the more fragile your balance becomes. This reality destroys the illusion that status equals security. It doesn't. Titles, followers, awards, applause, none of them can protect you from the shifting tides of perception. They can vanish, leaving you exposed, wondering if you ever truly mattered. But within this harsh truth lies clarity. If status is fragile, it cannot be your foundation. Build your worth on character, skills, and resilience, things no rumor or downfall can erase. Status may come and go, but strength endures. The world may strip away your titles and applause, but what remains after the collapse is what was real all along. Comfort is addictive. Comfort is addictive because once you taste the ease of safety, your mind begins to crave it like a drug. The warmth of routine, the security of predictability, the softness of familiarity. It feels good, and that feeling lulls you into a trance where risk feels dangerous and growth feels unnecessary. The more you indulge in comfort, the harder it becomes to step away from it. Slowly, without realizing, you build invisible chains around your own potential. The brutal truth is that comfort rewires you. It teaches you to avoid challenge, to flinch at uncertainty, to settle for less than what you're capable of. Every time you choose comfort over effort, the walls of your prison grow thicker. And the worst part? It doesn't announce itself as destruction. Comfort feels like peace while it quietly suffocates your ambition. Years can vanish this way, dreams left untouched, skills left undeveloped, a life left unlived. Comfort doesn't just dull your edge, it steals your hunger. It makes you forget the fire that once drove you to chase, to fight, to demand more from yourself. And when life eventually forces change, because it always does, you find yourself weak, unprepared, and resentful, wishing you had built resilience instead of clinging to ease. Like any addiction, comfort offers temporary relief but leaves long-term damage. The only way to break it is to deliberately step into discomfort, to seek out challenge, embrace uncertainty, and stretch until it hurts. Because comfort never lets go on its own, you have to tear yourself free before it quietly kills who you were meant to be. Sacrifice is unavoidable. Choose what to sacrifice. Sacrifice is unavoidable. Choose what to sacrifice is a truth most people resist until life forces the decision for them. You cannot have everything. Every yes you give is a no to something else. If you chase comfort, you sacrifice growth. If you chase growth, you sacrifice comfort. If you choose laziness, you sacrifice your future. If you choose discipline, you sacrifice ease. No matter what path you take, something will burn. The only question is whether you burn what matters or what holds you back. This truth is brutal because people cling to the fantasy of having it all. They want success without sleepless nights, fitness without discipline, love without vulnerability, freedom without responsibility. But reality demands a price. You don't escape sacrifice. You only decide whether it will be intentional or accidental. The sting of this truth is in realizing how often people sacrifice the wrong things. They sacrifice their health for money, then spend their money trying to buy back health. They sacrifice time with loved ones for status, only to discover that status feels empty without love. They sacrifice dreams for security, then live haunted by regret. And yet, this truth carries power. Once you accept that sacrifice is unavoidable, you begin to choose wisely. You stop wasting your best years on what drains you and start paying the price for what builds you. Life is a constant exchange. Something must always be lost. But if you choose your sacrifices with purpose, what you gain will be worth far more than what you gave up. Life gives you what you tolerate. Life gives you what you tolerate because the standards you set for yourself become the boundaries that shape your reality. Every time you allow disrespect, laziness, or mediocrity to slide, you silently give permission for it to stay. The brutal truth is that the world rarely hands you what you truly deserve. It hands you what you demand, enforce, and refuse to compromise on. If you accept less, you get less. If you accept excuses, you live surrounded by them. If you accept unhappiness, it becomes your normal. Most people don't lack potential. They lack standards. They tolerate jobs that drain them, relationships that diminish them, habits that destroy them, and then wonder why life feels so heavy. But every tolerance is a choice, and every choice sets the tone for what comes next. The truth is that others will only treat you as well as you require them to, and your environment will only rise as high as you insist it does. Raising your standards isn't easy. It means confrontation, sacrifice, and often walking away from comfort. But the alternative is worse, living trapped by conditions you secretly resent. The day you draw the line, the day you say, never again, is the day life begins to shift. Life doesn't reward wishes. It responds to limits. It bends to what you refuse to endure. And the harsh reality is this: if you keep tolerating less than you want, less than you deserve, and less than you're capable of, that's exactly what life will keep giving you. Your potential means nothing if unused. Your potential means nothing if unused because unrealized ability has no weight in the real world. You can be brilliant, creative, talented, or full of promise, but if you never turn that raw possibility into action, it dies with you. Cemeteries are filled with unwritten books, unsung songs, unbuilt businesses, and unfulfilled dreams, proof that potential alone is worthless without execution. The brutal truth is that no one cares what you could have been. They only see what you became. Potential is seductive because it feels like power. People tell you that you're gifted, that you have so much ahead of you, that you're destined for greatness, and you start to believe the promise is enough. But potential is a debt you owe to yourself, and every day you waste is interest compounding against you. Eventually, the weight of unused potential becomes regret, and regret is heavier than failure. The harsh beauty of this truth is that potential is only valuable when converted into results. Effort, consistency, and courage are what transform could into did. A less talented person who acts will always surpass a more talented person who waits. The world doesn't reward possibilities, it rewards proof. If you die with your potential still inside you, it will not comfort you that you could have done more. The only thing that matters is what you built, what you created, and what you gave while you had the chance. Potential is a promise with an expiration date. Use it or lose it forever. The past can't be changed. The past can't be changed because it is carved in stone, untouchable by regret, anger, or longing. No matter how many nights you replay the mistake in your head, no matter how many what-ifs you torment yourself with, the events remain fixed. The argument still happened. The opportunity was still missed. The betrayal still cut. The brutal truth is that time only moves forward, and every second spent clinging to what's gone robs you of the seconds you could use to build what's next. What makes this truth so painful is that memory is alive. It breathes, it haunts, it whispers reminders when you least expect it. But memory is not malleable reality. It is a weight you choose to carry or set down. The past cannot be rewritten, but your relationship with it can. You can let it chain you, keeping you trapped in cycles of guilt and bitterness. Or you can let it sharpen you, turning scars into lessons and losses into fuel. Many people waste their lives arguing with ghosts, wishing for an alternate timeline that will never arrive. They lose today while mourning yesterday. But strength is born in acceptance, the ability to look at the past with clear eyes and say, "It is done, and now it belongs to me only as a teacher." The past can't be changed, but the future is clay in your hands. If you stop trying to rewrite what's finished and start creating what's possible, you discover that the power you craved was never behind you. It was always in what you choose to do next. The present is all you truly have. The present is all you truly have is a truth that slices through both regret and anxiety. The past is untouchable. You can replay it, mourn it, or glorify it, but you cannot change it. The future is uncertain, a projection, a fantasy that may never arrive. The only piece of time that is real, that you can touch, shape, and live inside, is now. And yet, most people abandon the present by drowning in what's gone or obsessing over what's not yet here. This truth is brutal because it reveals how much of life is wasted in places we cannot control. People replay mistakes that cannot be undone, holding on to pain that chains them to yesterday. Others live for someday, postponing joy, waiting for the right job, the right partner, the right moment, as if the future is guaranteed. Both lose the only thing they actually own, the moment unfolding in front of them. The sting of this truth is realizing how quickly the present slips away. Every second you spend consumed by the past or lost in the future is a piece of life you'll never get back. The clock doesn't pause while you daydream or wallow. The present moves relentlessly forward, whether you honor it or not. But inside this truth lies liberation. If the present is all you truly have, then every moment becomes a chance to act, to love, to grow, to change. Life is not waiting somewhere ahead of you. It is happening now. And if you waste it, it's gone forever. Your choices define your destiny. Your choices define your destiny because every decision you make, big or small, pushes your life in a direction, shaping the person you become and the future you experience. The brutal truth is that destiny isn't written in the stars. It's written in your habits, your actions, your daily commitments. People love to blame fate, luck, or circumstance, But the reality is that where you end up is overwhelmingly the result of the choices you make again and again. Each choice compounds. The food you eat decides your health years from now. The money you spend or save dictates your freedom or debt. The people you surround yourself with influence your mindset, your ambition, and your limits. Even the smallest decisions, the hour you waste or the hour you invest, are bricks laid on the path you're walking. Over time, that path becomes your life. The harshest part of this truth is that you cannot escape it. Even refusing to choose is still a choice, and passivity builds a destiny of regret, just as much as recklessness builds one of ruin. Every moment you hesitate, every time you settle, every time you avoid responsibility, you're carving out a future you'll be forced to live in. But the beauty within the brutality is power. If choices define destiny, then you hold the pen. Change your choices and you change your life. The question is not whether you have a destiny, it's whether you will shape it deliberately or let it be written for you by fear, laziness, and indecision.